Gather around, freaks. It's Thursday. Thursday nights are the night where everybody in the entire universe gathers around the internet radio and the internet fireplace to tell their internet radio and internet fire stories. But tonight we're in the Mojo Dojo Casa house when Hey, Did You See This One brings you, Hey, did you see this one? What?
In a world where society tells you to doubt your strength, question your intelligence, and dim your light, we search for voices to tell our stories. Voices to empower us,
uplift us, and keep us heard by the masses. These are the voices of powerful, resilient, and talented women who aren't afraid to speak up and speak loudly. Women who teach us to be brave, to be vulnerable, and to believe in ourselves. So, Hey, Did You See This One invites you to Feminist Masterpiece Theater.
Hi, everybody. It's Thursday night, and we're here, and it's the Hey, Did You See This One show, and it's episode 140. We did it, episode 140 episodes. Thank you for being here. My name is Jason R. Phillips. I'm joined, as always, by my lethal co-host, Stephen.
Lethal? Sick.
Marcus Anthony
Marcus Phoenix Waters.
Marcus Phoenix Waters. We're all dressed in pink, sort of. Tatiana didn't get the memo. Just kidding.
I did get the memo. I do not have pink. That's the problem.
I'm in the jumpsuit. I'm in the brainwash jumpsuit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Before we, that's great.
Out of all like the potential Halloween costumes in this movie, that was the one that I was like the most comfortable adopting. I was like, I'll do that. I'll do the jumpsuit. Yeah.
You don't want to be Ken in his full fur coat?
I don't have the.
I asked my wife where her fur coat.
The double sunglasses? Come on.
Yeah.
You could do
I only own one pair of sunglasses.
I asked my wife where our fur coat is, and she's like, "We don't have a fur coat." And I was like, "That said, Tatiana, just before we get to my intros here, can you just hold up the shirt you were gonna wear because look at the color of this thing."
It's a little crazy.
Oh,
that's amazing.
That's so it's too crazy over camera.
Yeah,
that's something weird Barbie would wear.
Absolutely.
I think I would be weird Barbie. I
think we would all be weird Barbie in our own.
I have some Barbies behind me.
This podcast is the weird Barbie of podcasts. It is, of course. We're making our way through a Feminist Masterpiece Theater Month, where we celebrate, feminist masterpiece films. We're joined this month again by Tatiana Ramos. Sorry. Welcome back.
You got it right the first time. So
Ramos.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Go with your instinct.
What? Oh, sorry.
I got
it. You didn't.
If you're gonna do it. If you're not gonna do it. I'm sorry. I'm yelling at my co-host on the show. Just kidding. Hey, and guess who's back for the third week in a row as they're doing their Hey, Did You See This One residency to learn how to be a permanent cast host, apparently. Because that's how it works. You stay long enough. And please welcome
And
back
you
to the
never
show
leave.
the man, the myth, the legend, Mojo Dojo Casa House. Noel K is back on the show once again. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm very tired. I'm not drinking for this episode, so if I don't seem the same as I normally do, that's why. Which is fine. Sometimes we're tired, and sometimes we're in a Barbie world, and we're thrust into reality, so hard that it makes the world that crumble down around you. That is called a transition. And when
now explain what a transition is to us, please.
Transitioning is okay. But first, what we're gonna do? Yeah, thank you, thanks, Chucky. And I appreciate that.
Where'd he go?
Goes.
Yeah.
He's gone in a cloud of dust.
Sound
I guess I'll pick up where he left off. Usually at this point, we would walk ourselves into our brief histories. Just a little short tale of the first time you saw this movie, and maybe a little bit of why it means something special to you. And usually on the show, we beg the guests to go first because we're so interested to know your first time watching the movie Barbie. So, Tatiana, why don't you tell us about the first time you saw the movie Barbie, the movie?
I watched it in theaters, and I honestly was trying to rack my brain to remember who I was with. It's not there. I don't know. Probably my partner. I think maybe. But it was wonderful. It was just like a packed theater of people in various outfits. People like really dressed to the tens to go attend this movie. But it was awesome. A little short, but that's fine. I really liked it. I liked the songs. I left singing "I'm Just Ken" for about a week and a half. So
it's definitely an earworm. Also, it's 2 hours and 6 minutes long. It's not that short, but I guess you wanted like a Return of the King extended edition.
Yeah, give me like an extra hour and 10 minutes.
I mean,
I'd be in Barbie world, really.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. My sort of like gold star for a movie is when it's getting to the end and you just don't want it to end. You want it to keep going, and you're sad that it's over. You just want it to live in the world for a little bit longer. All right, thank you, Tatiana. Mojo Dojo Casa House. Why don't you tell us your first time watching Barbie?
Hi, Ken. Hi, Barbie. We didn't do it. We're supposed to do it.
Done it. Hi, Alan.
Yeah, you are, Alan.
Yeah.
Who wants to be Midge?
Oh, no one.
Not even Midge wants to be Midge.
No. We'll get into that. So I watched it on opening night. I wasn't going to go see it, but then I went. I had like the shittiest seats in the theater. And then I saw it 5 more times and then one in IMAX.
Nice.
So then I bought it on the day that it became a digital thing, and I just have watched it more times than I can count now.
Yeah, this is one of the few movies that I've purchased in a long time. There aren't many anymore where I feel the need, because there's so many streaming services. I'm okay to wait until they go on for free. But I really wanted to see this because of all of the. I guess this is me just leading into my first time seeing it. I really wanted to watch it without having to wait for it to go on streaming. And I'm not a huge fan of sailing the 7 seas unless I absolutely have to. So I saw this when my partner was like, let's watch it. And I was like, is it on any streaming? And I was like, did we dare? Did we pirate it? No. And then we both found that we could purchase it. So we both bought it.
I think it's on Crave.
It is now, I think. But yeah, at the time it was not. And I am not disappointed in the purchase at all. And I had so many people surrounding me of whom I respect in terms of their opinion on movies, who I almost agree with them on pretty much everything. So I felt pretty safe in the purchase. And after watching it, I realized that this movie was for everybody. It wasn't necessarily targeted at a specific audience, even though the marketing makes it seem that way, and it is very much catered to a specific audience in terms of like what is happening in the movie. But the comedy, the storytelling, the production value, the music, everything, the sound design is amazing. I want to talk about the sound design later, but everything about this movie is truly like what you think of when you think of the craft of cinema, and it's all wrapped together in a nice pink little package, and I love it.
Greta.
Yeah.
When you said The Craft, I was like thinking like Virus of
movie The
Craft. All wrapped up into the movie The Craft.
The movie The Craft. Maybe next year.
That was the like seedling that became Barbie.
I think that movie was on the list for this month, but we bumped it off.
Mistake.
But yeah, that's my first time seeing it. Was huddled around my TV, excited. Jason, our Phillips.
It's my turn. I don't know what happened there. It said something went wrong, and I was.
It's okay. We didn't miss a beat. I made a joke about you disappearing, and I made a fart noise, and then we just continued on.
Of course. I'll tell you. I saw this movie probably opening week. I went to see it with my wife. I think Steve was there. Steve, were you there?
Nope.
Somebody was there.
I didn't see this in theater, so.
You didn't see this in theaters?
No.
It was like a movie night with some friends, as I recall. And then I liked it. It's a great film. Then I watched it again like a few months later at my dad's, and I expected my dad to be like blah, 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 about it. And he
That's
actually
how he
was like
pronounces Barbie.
blah, 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 blah. He actually asked me to bring it because at Christmas I'll bring down a bunch of movies and stuff on USB because he's like lives in the Stone Age, and he actually requested it, so we watched it again and I enjoyed it again. But I will say, a third time in a year, I don't watch movies I like 3 times in 1 year. And I do like this movie, but this wouldn't be a movie that I would probably watch again for a little while. I know. Noel's like, I saw it 17 times today.
Yeah. It doesn't have a Spider-Man in it, Noel.
Oh, yes, of course. Or an Iron Man.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not like that. But I'm not those weirdos from that podcast on TikTok. They're like, Oppenheimer's a bad movie. It doesn't even have Iron Man in it.
It does.
That's a thing?
It does
Someone
have
has
Iron
said
Man
that?
in it. Yeah, people.
True.
Yeah, it does have Iron Man in it.
He's like one of the main
Yeah,
characters.
Robert Downey Jr. is literally in it.
Right.
And Robert Downey Jr. is only good at playing Robert Downey Jr., so Iron Man is him, and the guy in Oppenheimer is him.
The math works out.
But just to give you a brief history of me and Barbie, like when I was a kid, I didn't, even though I'm a dude, I didn't feel like it was like weird to like play with Barbies and stuff, so they were always around as characters in like playing with action figures and stuff. And I always thought, it was really interesting that Barbie had all these jobs, and I'm glad that this movie sort of played on that. And I really enjoy like what this movie sort of represents, because it's like really hard information to take for a lot of people, but they give it to you with that spoonful of sugar. Helps the medicine go down a little bit better. I think it's a very important film. I wasn't in the mood for it this week. It was just too colorful for me or something. I'm feeling kind of like, ugh. But it's still good. What? I'm allowed to mental
We
health.
should have done The Craft.
We should have
no color.
Yeah, just it is black and white.
Can I ask if anyone who saw it in theaters had any hecklers in their movie theater? Because I did.
Hecklers?
No. Yeah.
No.
We had a guy in our theater after she, like, America Ferrera does her big monologue, actually just do like this big sigh and say like, oh, like I can't remember what comment he made, but essentially like that was like too much. I was just like, you're in the wrong theater, bro.
Sounds like a Gen X douche to me. Or he's like a really big fan of Bratz dolls.
Or just wants to like an attention seeker. I'm not sure. Because I dirty looked real hard. And he was there with a girl. So I'm like, I'm assuming a girlfriend. Like, what are you doing?
That's crazy.
Even if you felt that inside, don't express it.
No.
But
the only time I've
experienced
that was at Fast and Furious 10, but it felt like I was at a party. But to have somebody yell out something like that during a pivotal scene like that, that's too much.
Literally, some people were crying. Like, you heard some like sniffles, and then this guy made this comment, and everyone was just kind of like, whoa.
What part of the movie was it? Sorry?
It was right after America Ferrera does her monologue about like being a woman is so difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean the best part of the movie?
I thought
Okay,
more
so-
people would. I honestly no. I thought maybe you'd have more hecklers if you watched it that many times. I did once.
Yeah, no. The first time I was sitting beside a child, and I thought that was going to be a problem, but it was like the best behaved child I've ever seen. Like other than my own nieces and nephews who are perfect, but so they didn't heckle. There were some people who were crying. There was a man who was taking up way too much room, so I kept kicking his chair. He was in front of me until he took up less room.
So just normal theater etiquette around.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when I saw it in IMAX, there weren't a lot of people in the theater. We saw it like a weird time. I also saw it during the day a bunch. Like, yeah. There was someone who was like crying behind me, and then like a dad who like patted his son on the head like near the end of the movie and like gave him a hug, and I'm like, I wonder what that's about.
Margot Robbie's his mom, long lost, but that's why he's crying.
Or maybe that kid really wanted to see it, and his dad begrudgingly took him, and then his dad enjoyed the movie and was like, "Thanks for making."
It was the dad crying. He's like,
Yeah.
"Bye." I just didn't
so
understand.
people I went with, the only heckling that happened was heckling at me. It's during the Depression Barbie scene. My best friend was like, "It's you!" So.
Oh. All right. Am I hosting now, Jason, or what?
I guess
you are.
so.
Okay, wow, the energy. Phillips, what's going on, bud?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm back, baby. Welcome to Hey, did you see this one? That, of course, was our brief history.
A brief history.
And now it's time to talk about the director's director talk.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
What you know about Greta Gerwig?
It's the white lady director pipeline where you start as an actor now, and then you become a white lady director, like Emerald Fennell, who's also in this movie.
Yeah.
Also, who else? It's like Bryce Dallas Howard. Also, well, I mean, she has a director dad, so I feel like there's like a double whammy there.
Oh yeah, this isn't taking away anything, but like it is kind of odd that that's a thing, that you have to be like a kind of successful actor in order to get
Sophia
into.
Coppola act before she directed.
Yeah, she was in that
Yeah.
one Fat Boy Slim video, and then was in The Godfather.
Oh, right. Right. And was
As a
in The
baby.
Godfather as
Yeah.
a teat.
To be fair, Ron Howard also had the same trajectory. He started as a child actor and really didn't want to act, and eventually.
I think a
became
lot of
director.
people do. I think a lot of people just get tired or like start to see what it's like behind the camera and kind of want to make that move.
Yeah.
Some shouldn't make that move.
I have thoughts. I think it's much harder for a woman to break into the industry without already being in it. Whereas Wes Anderson can write a fucking plot on a napkin and be like, "Can I get like $1 million to make this movie?" And people are like, "Yeah, sure. In fact, we're going to pay for your writing lessons too." So,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Especially just in the way that the prominent directors of today rose. Like they basically kind of just grew up in like a perfect era for when the studio system was changing hands, and they just wanted to shake everything up a bit. And then it became sort of a boys' club for a while there, right?
sure did.
Not to say that there aren't some fabulous female directors that have existed since, the 60s, 70s, 80s. They've existed, but there are far fewer of them, yes.
They're very few, right? It like
They're not
stands
given,
out.
yeah, they're not
What is
given
it?
the time of day.
Yeah, the big feminist line. I even think that Catherine Bigelow should win an Academy Award, or that she should direct a Marvel movie. That's the one. Can you give me some Jason sound effects, please?
Oh,
Thank you.
there you
I
go.
thought you were just like, Jason,
Lurking.
say something.
So Greta Gerwig, I mean, she was, I first became aware of her with Frances Ha, but I think like didn't actually know who Greta Gerwig was until Lady Bird.
Lady Bird was I did really enjoy her working with I'm going to butcher this name so bad.
Saoirse
Ronan. Amazing. Like what a power duo, because what an incredible actress. And then I think Greta just really I don't know. I do really enjoy Greta as a director. So it was Lady Bird, Little Women, which like I think could have been very tired because I think it's done quite a bit, but was also
There's
really,
like
I enjoyed that movie.
6-7 versions of it. Little Women is what really caught me because I love Little Women. I like the June Allison. What's her name? She has violet eyes. Oh my God, she married Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth Taylor, Margaret O'Brien one from I'm going to say the 50s. Like, I really love that one. And then, of course, like we grew up with the one with the Winona Ryder. Like my generation grew up with that one. So I love most versions of it, but I've never, something that Greta Gerwig does is she takes out like the spirit and the core of something and puts it out in a way that it's never happened before. Like, this is the first time of any of the Little Women that the character of Amy has been given like a redemption almost. Like, she was given a proper arc. She's completely portrayed differently. Like, it's just it's absolute like masterful movie. Cried like the whole time. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. What is your voice?
Who has a?
I think it's just a dog, guys. Everyone calm down.
Oh, is it sniffing?
It's just walking around.
They're toe tapping because they're about to go outside, so I'll mute myself for a bit.
Cutie. No. My dog was barking the entire last episode, like the entire thing. Like, I got Animal Protection Services called on me, like they were at my door as soon as I turned off my mic. Sorry, my headphones are also too loud, so that's my own fault. But yeah, Greta Gerwig, she done good stuff. Now she can do whatever she wants.
I hope so. Honestly, sorry.
Oh, I was just wanting to say I didn't realize she's only actually directed like a few things. I thought she was more prolific.
But they're impactful.
Just
like, everything she's directed has been like out of the park amazing. Like, I think we can't not talk about the fact that she did not get an Oscar nomination for Barbie, despite it just being massive.
I also think that speaks to your point, Noel, which is that female directors do have a tougher time getting stuff made. So it's not to say that she isn't prolific. She just hasn't been given the chances that some other people may have at this point. Because, I mean, after Little Women, very successful, she probably should have been able to do whatever she wanted, but it took another 5 years for anything to come out, right? But I think after the success of Barbie, like this is a global phenomenon level hit. You know, this is like a Star Wars level. This movie made so much money, and it was talked about everywhere. And I think it even boosted Oppenheimer's numbers just by existing on the same opening day. You know?
Because the movie Oppenheimer was destined to sort of just be like a Christopher Nolan movie that would have come and gone traditionally, like the last couple.
Well, I think Nolan's movies have some staying power, and they are usually talked about for years after they're made. But I think that Oppenheimer is
so heavy.
It's very heavy
for a very specific sect of people.
It's also not like his science fiction-y
mumbo
jumbo stuff. It's like, no, he's making something that is based on history at this point, and it's
pretty intense.
And I'll tell you,
a lot of montages.
I've seen Barbie 3 times, and I've seen Oppenheimer 0 times. So
it says more about you.
I'm trying to make a funny point.
It's too long. I can't do it.
I've seen Oppenheimer. It's not a bad movie. It's just very dry and heavy and sad, and there's a lot of montages that maybe should have been shorter.
Yeah, if I want to be sad, I'll just live my life and watch the news.
It's true, yeah.
Like, I don't have time for that.
I don't watch movies to be sad unless I purposely feel like I need to cry that day. And I have very specific movies I can watch, and it's happy sad. It's turning red.
I mean, I've seen Oppenheimer once, and I don't plan on watching it again anytime soon. Barbie, on the other hand, I'll probably watch this every once in a while because it's fun.
It's fun to put on the TV while you're getting ready or just, cleaning.
Oh, yeah, that opening song. So good.
Yes, it is. Space Cadet Tim just said that the best movies by male directors were edited by women. All of Scorsese's movies were edited by the same lady. So, yeah, true. He's a good filmmaker, I guess.
Yeah, Martha Lucas.
Or they have, or they have a woman writer. Like Empire is the best one, and it's the only one with a woman writer on it. So there you go.
There you go.
Also, Barbie had a master class in marketing. Like they're going to be studying the marketing for this movie for years to come in universities.
People are going to try and mimic it. They're not going to get it as perfect as they need to, but like it was perfection. It was all you saw. It was all you wanted. Every clothing line in the world was modeling after like Barbie style clothes. Like they nailed it. They did incredible.
All you got to do is create a successful line of toys that exists for 60 years.
For 100
and then
years.
make, and then make a movie.
I have a question. Who do you think came up with the marketing idea to do Barbenheimer? Do you think it happened organically from internet, or do you think somebody on either side was like, you know what we do? We got the woman movie, we got the man movie, we Brangelina those things, we make $1 million.
I think it was organic because, like, I don't know if they cared. Like, the people
Barbie was going to do well without.
Were like Oppen
Yeah.
who? And Oppenheimer was like, a what? A doll.
I think it was also like a lot of movies moved their opening weekend because of Barbie, and Oppenheimer was very stubborn about not doing it. So maybe it was organic, and then when they realized it was building into something, you kind of play it up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Barbie, a huge thing that has existed forever. People love it. People know it. People want to see it. And Christopher Nolan is sort of like a marquee director where every time he makes something, it is a big deal, right? So Nolan just has the confidence of like, every other movie I've made has been successful, so why should I be scared of Barbie?
Yes. My niche of people that love my movies will come to my movie. It's fine. Has anyone seen any other Barbie movies? Like the animated Barbie movie?
Like Barbie in the Dream House?
Yeah. Or like Swan Lake.
I haven't seen the Barbie movies, the ones you're talking about, but I have watched Barbie's Life in the Dream House, like the web series.
Oh, okay.
It's so funny.
Very different.
Have any of them hit like are any of them like not just like kids content?
No, they're kids.
No.
But I'm not trying
They're
to
all
slight it.
bad
That's
as
not
well.
that's not like an insult. I'm curious to see if they've ever tried to do anything like this with Barbie, because I know every Barbie video game that's ever come out has been nonsense crap shareware garbage. Like they've never.
It's made for kids, right? It's simplistic.
They could easily make a Crash Bandicoot style, collectathon Barbie game though. That would,
I think there used to be a
might do
web
well.
game. Like I'm pretty sure I used to go on a website. If not Barbie, something like that was actually very closely trying to be Barbie, but legally distinct.
I had a Barbie
It's
Barbie
Susan.
game. I had a Barbie game for my computer and I played it all.
Yeah.
It was basically just getting Barbie ready.
That's the best one. You're like, I get dressed. There was one where you had to drive a car and pick up clothes on a road. Like you had kind of like not Frogger. What's the game I'm thinking of?
Choose your eyeshadow, choose your earrings, choose your dress.
Tim makes a good point. This is what I know from Barbie video games. She's always got a horse.
Yeah.
Riding a horse.
Yeah, Barbie's
put her on a horse. Make her have to collect.
She's an accomplished rider. Not everyone can say that.
That's gonna be the whole sequel. Ironically, in this, Ken is the accomplished horse rider.
I don't think we've ever seen him ride a horse. He just really loved horses.
Yeah,
yes,
he likes horses.
Right. Oh yeah. In fact, they do the Monty Python.
Yes, they do.
Thing. Before we move off director talk, Steve, do you have the numbers for this movie? What it cost and what it made?
So this movie cost $128 to $145 million to make. I guess they just aren't sure. Like, I don't know.
They didn't include the marketing budget.
Yeah, I mean that's probably lumped in there, but it made almost $1.5 billion.
I think only female director to cross $1 billion.
Yes.
Right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, the one that they eclipsed was Captain Marvel. I believe that was previously the highest earning female director. Yes, that sounds right. Yeah, it's right. I say it confidently because I'm Barbie.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's all good for Greta because I mean, now, like you said, she's going to probably be able to use this as a blank check to sustain her career for the rest of her life. I assume that like this one success will probably be enough to keep her around forever, no matter how poorly something might perform. She'll be getting the calls. I hope.
Well, she wants to do Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah,
and I
she'll
think
probably be able to
terrified
make
of that.
Yeah.
She'll also probably be able to. She'll probably be able to make a good Chronicles of Narnia that doesn't just feel like a
guaranteed.
I don't want to say rip off, but those kind of felt
derivative.
Derivative. Let's do Lord of the Rings. Yeah, derivative. But she's probably has her own stuff that she wants to do that is fun in the way this movie is fun, like a dramedy with that lens would be fantastic.
Well, I mean, that's like the good thing about Barbie, right? Is that there isn't really like a set storyline that you have to follow. It's just take these characters and tell an interesting story with them, and that's exactly what she did.
And then Mattel was like, show all the toys, all of them.
Okay, but I loved it. Every time they did the outfits like in the air, I loved it.
Not the palazzos. To talk about men for a minute, I think Noah Baumbach's voice is heard quite a bit through this as well. I think they're an incredible writing tandem. So he did good.
He did good. He did good.
He did good.
Men.
Yeah, Noah Baumbach. Just before we quickly, who is
their life partners? Right?
Oh yeah, partner.
Okay. He did. Oh, he wrote Marriage Story. Good soup. Do you want to go to the body of the episode?
Yes, let's go to the body of the episode.
Body of the episode.
This is the body of the episode. This is, of course, the part of the show that is the show after the show. Usually the first half hour is us going through all of the things, and then around 8:30 we start podcasting about the movie we've decided to do for this week. It used to be much more front-loaded with me just saying a whole bunch of stuff.
Just stop talking for a second. Okay, now go. Remember I told you last week where when you start talking before the recording is done playing, it starts to mess with your mic.
But does it only mess up for you, or was that happening?
It happens.
Son of a bitch. Do I have to say all that over again?
No, you can still hear it. It's just like you have this way of speaking where you don't stop speaking between sentences for so long that I thought the microphone would catch up and it just didn't. So I had to stop you for a second.
Like the French.
Okay. Yes, I'm basically speaking French, but in English.
Or a Torontonian. Yeah, you're not from Toronto. Get out of here.
Half Halifax, half Toronto, half Ontarian. At any rate, this is the part of the show that is the show. Welcome to Hey, Did You See This One? We are, of course, talking about Barbie, the movie starring Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and Simu Liu, and all. Speaking of Toronto, and all kinds of other great actors that you know from around the world. And the reason why I'm just sort of talking at this point is we used to do this thing where I'd run down the plot, but we got rid of that. Noel, do you want to give us a little?
I completely forgot to. Okay, this week has been a little bit wild.
It's true,
but
I
can do it.
Tell us about the movie. Give us a plot synopsis.
So Barbie begins in like Barbie Land, which is a separate concept or idea or place, and Barbie lives in a perfect world, and then
think of a small town in Sweden. That's
Sweden. Everyone say Sweden together. Exactly. So she starts getting like complicated though. Like she's having thoughts of death. She's got cellulite. There's like a couple things going on. Her humanness seems to like be affecting her. So she goes to Weird Barbie, who says you have to find the girl who's playing with you because she's putting all her sad emotions onto you. So Barbie goes into the real world. Ken follows her. Ken finds out what patriarchy is and makes his way back to Barbie Land, where he brainwashes all the Barbies and teaches the Kens patriarchy, while Barbie finds the girl who she thinks that brought her or like was playing with her, but it's actually the mom. And then all three of them go back to Barbie Land, and then Barbie Land is all patriarchy and it's all very sad. And then they have a really fun montage where they unbrainwash the Barbies, feminism. And then Barbie is like, what's my story? And then she becomes human. Is that good?
Yeah,
spoilers.
She gets her vagina, which is all she ever wanted, apparently.
La vagina.
Because that's what makes you human.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the punchline of the whole movie. It's great.
I couldn't remember what that end was because for some reason I thought she was going in for a job interview, and
that's what they make it look like.
Yeah, I thought the gag was that she comes out and immediately is like, "I didn't get the job." Like I thought that's what it was going to be, even though I've seen the movie already. And then I was like, pleasantly surprised that it was a very funny gynecologist joke.
Greta said she wanted to end the movie with like a mic drop, and that felt like the best sort of mic drop, which is, I'm here to see my gynecologist.
Yeah.
Which like, you don't really expect a joke to end with gynecologist.
Yeah.
The amount of people who didn't know what a gynecologist was or thought that it was too crass to mention a gynecologist in a movie. But
a doctor
of a human part? Like, tell me how that's different from an ears, nose, throat doctor.
We're butt doctors.
Because one's a vagina. Don't you know what vaginas are for?
Like, we can't talk about proctologists? Come on.
Cosmo Kramer, the ass man.
But butts are funny. They make funny noises. So yeah, no, I mean, I was surprised at how many genital jokes there are in this movie, considering it seems pretty safe for like kids or whatever, right? I mean, I don't think that they're risque jokes in any way, and I think that they're pretty funny and, you know, like safe. But I'm surprised that what I'm surprised at is
I'm gonna beat you off.
I'm not surprised that they're in there. I'm surprised that like somebody didn't try and stop that at some point. Like, or maybe
Mattel?
they did. Who knows? Yeah, Mattel. But I'm talking about Mattel over here.
I loved it. I also feel like as a kid, like when it wasn't a secret that Barbies didn't have genitalia, like you would sit there and be like, the Barbie doesn't have the same thing I do.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
You were very aware.
But I'm talking like the joke where
beat you off, I think was.
That's all. That's very like, it's okay. It just sounds like they're jerking each other off, which is like, wow.
What else do Kens do? They don't have a place to sleep.
I know, they sleep at the beach near their little fires that they have. They all have.
Yeah, we don't know where they go. The way I interpreted that beach off thing was, yes, it's a joke, but also it's like the dick measuring competition. But because they don't have like
dicks.
They're anatomically in whatever, they're not anatomically correct, that that's the trade-off. Like, they don't know how to have a dick measuring competition, so they're having this ridiculous like beach thing that they're not even aware how crazy it sounds, because Alan is just standing there being like, ah!
Yeah. Alan was gifted with the gift of knowledge and actually knows human. I think this is what I got from him.
He's perfection. Michael Cera awkward is just the best. It's why we loved him in Juno. It's why we love him in every movie. He's that same person.
The joke that I was referring to is the one where Kate McKinnon says, "I'd like to know what kind of fleshy or flesh-colored
like bulb
blob he's working with underneath his jeans."
I'm pretty sure that she ad-libbed that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she ad-libbed a bunch of her lines.
Okay.
I don't think you let Kate let her be in this as Weird Barbie and not let her ad-lib as Weird Barbie, right? Like that's how you get the weird.
Where she's like watching the entire monologue and also a huge kind of confrontational conversation while her leg is just sprawled up on the wall and she just holds it there for like 8 minutes.
When they said, why is she always in the splits? I laughed because all I could remember was my pile of Barbies, all of them in the split position, just like trashed there while I left to go eat lunch.
I had a friend who had several weird Barbies. And just before we get off the Alan thing, it's such a sad existence to like, because Ken is an accessory and Alan is an accessory to Ken. To be the accessory of an accessory is just so like, you feel bad for the character immediately. And like you were saying, like Tatiana, like it being played by Michael Cera is so perfect. His performance in this movie is like weirdly good for like how kind of small a role it is. And then it turns out he can just like take out 10 men with his bare hands also, when he's just fist fighting all of those like worker guys. I was howling every time I watched it.
He's built the same as Ken. They share the clothes that they share. So we don't know, but under that, six pack.
Just jacked to the
on
nines.
The box. So like Barbie came out first and then Ken was added. And then they brought in two characters, Midge and Alan. So Midge originally had like a little bob and like freckles, but she was the same proportions as Barbie. So her box said like Barbie's clothes fit her, so that you didn't have to like, oh, if you already have a Barbie, you'll have a. So Alan was the same. Like Alan, Ken's buddy, all Ken's clothes fit him, or all his clothes like fit him, and it was just like a marketing thing. Yeah. But amazing to take that and to make something of it. Like all it is writing on an old box. Alan did come back later, married to Midge, and that's where we get pregnant Midge from. And then she was discontinued because it promoted teen pregnancy.
She wasn't a teenager.
Nope.
It is
but
weird
it wasn't.
That she had a baby in there though. I think that one was an odd one.
So weird. And like it was like the single motherhood things. Like so her boxes would come with just like her and the baby, and then they had to reissue boxes with Alan like his face, like a paper, like a picture of him. So you're like, it's not a single mom thing. It's not out of wedlock.
You have to buy Alan. By the dad.
Yeah. And Alan looks so weird by that point. He's not nearly as cute as he is, but oh yeah, I have all of the Barbie facts.
I looked up a few, but I'm glad you're here.
I grew up with Barbies. I played with Barbies. I am presently a doll collector.
What's the deal with
What's the deal?
What's the deal? Sugar Daddy
Sugar's Daddy Ken.
Sugar's Daddy.
And
what's the deal?
Sugar Daddy Ken.
It was canceled for being kind of weird.
Yeah.
And okay, that one's
Very
weird.
weird.
What about obviously gay man Ken?
Earring Magic Ken. Let me tell you. So,
because I vaguely remember the Christmas that came out and being like, that's weird. So not knowing why, because that education definitely wasn't given to kids in the 90s, let alone probably not now even.
So in the movie, he's wearing a chain that says like Ken on it, I think, or something. That the doll originally had a chain with a circle in it, like a hoop, and like the earring, because you got an earring on the Ken, but then you got like earrings for the kid playing.
Did it color change underwater or something?
No. The earring would just like sit in the little thing. So he was pulled because that necklace looked like a cock ring.
Oh,
it probably was. They probably got it from like clubs at the time.
It was just kind of practical, but they also dressed him like they wanted to make Ken cool, so they dressed him in what was like fashionable at the time, which was gay as fuck.
Right.
And then so that wasn't the problem. It was the cock ring necklace that was the problem. So that's why he was.
I mean, selling a cock ring necklace to children is a problem. I will agree with that.
But they don't know it's a cock ring. Like
it's also
kid is like, ooh, a cock ring. Like a kid's like, oh, my earrings. So like you're putting your own adult shit on a kid's toy.
Exactly. They don't even know what that is, and it's also a practical thing because that's where the earring would hang. Like, what's it like? It needs to be on a little like circle thing. Anyway,
but
I have problems.
It is adults that are rallying, being like, "How dare you like sell this to my children?" Now I have to talk to them about cock rings, and you're like, "No, you really don't." Like,
a kid at school said that's a cock ring on my doll.
Correct me.
There would be one kid though. There would be one kid that knows too much.
Yeah, there's always one kid who's like,
but nobody cares about
porno
Ken.
out of my dad's basement room. I believe all the Barbies in this movie are real, right? Like they didn't make 100%. Up any Barbies, right?
Yes, they are.
They actually left a lot of Barbies out. They have Barbies of every type.
Yeah, they can't put everyone in. It's only a 2 hour, 6 minute long movie. Maybe in the sequel we'll get more additional Barbies.
I'm pretty sure they did like a Barbies around the world one time. Like you could get like Russian Barbie, I remember getting like I think it was a Filipino Barbie or something like that. Like it was really cool. You got to see like representation, I think, in dolls that you just generally didn't see.
Yeah. Right. The only thing we didn't get was any holiday Barbies. In the montages.
Sequel will be a Christmas movie,
but they had like all of the Barbies in the opening. So in the opening shot, shall we just start talking about the movie? In the opening shot, we have the Thus Spake Zarathustra playing from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that is the shot for shot of that versus the 2001 Space Odyssey. I was like when that was the first trailer that came out, I was like, I don't know what this movie is about, but this is going to be fantastic.
I had like the opposite effect when I saw the trailer, but then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, this is delightful. Like they're doing this properly. Exactly. And they're making like a comparison to that movie in a way that makes sense in terms of like what 2001: A Space Odyssey is about and what Barbie represents. They can parallel one another in an intriguing and interesting way. And then at that point I was like, oh, okay, this movie is going to be smart. It's going to be smarter than I thought. Okay, great.
Because Greta, like she literally could have started it with some like crazy fun, like that dance scene where we get the fun songs and like Barbie's waking up, like that could have been the start of the movie and it would have been fantastic. But giving us that beginning was just, it felt super impactful and was almost like a different tone, like immediately, like the huge switch of this like big like desert scape and these like old-timey children like breaking their dolls. Like it was just a really cool transition that I don't really think you would expect.
And they're all wearing like tan and beige boring clothing. Like color didn't exist before Barbie came along, you know.
Like but it's weird to think about.
She's smashing this.
She's just like, fuck this. But it's so weird to think about that. That's true. Like Barbies were, like dolls were always babies. Like you were automatically as a child being given this like motherhood role of just like play with your baby, like feed. I had a doll that you literally had to feed or it would cry all the time. Listen, I don't want babies. I hated that doll. I was like, please be quiet. Like I don't know how to make you be quiet.
Yeah. You just took the batteries out. You're like,
I didn't know about batteries. I was a baby.
It's so strange. It's just brainwashing is what it is, but
yeah, it is. There's this hilarious
100%.
story that my mom likes to tell. She thought I would be like, she was like, you're going to be a terrible mother. And I'm like, well, I'm never going to be a mother. So look at that. She would like, they got me baby dolls and I would like look at it and then give it to her and be like, you're the mother. Like this,
I'm also
you take care of the baby. I'm a baby.
Yeah. I'm gonna go play with my Ninja Turtles.
How is changing diapers fun? Like that's not a fun thing for me to do. Like, yeah, I wanna play with cars. Like that sweet thing where you push the button and the car just goes around a track. Amazing.
My niece though loves changing diapers and I don't understand, but like the context of it, I think like for me I already knew that like it was only paper dolls and baby dolls and that Barbie was the first like anatomically adult little like fashion doll that you had and that she was created from this little like novelty sex toy called Bill Lilly, who was like a German hooker.
No.
I'm sorry, what?
News.
I've never
We're gonna
heard
turn
of
this hooker doll into a children's doll.
So you're telling me that whatever, the person that made Barbie's Handler, whatever, she was like, I'm such a fan of German sex toys that I'm going to make a doll.
So they went on a family vacation and they used to sell these because Bill Lilly was a comic. Like it was a kind of a gentleman's comic. So they had these like little dolls that you'd buy as like novelties. Like, oh, it's a joke. Like this guy's having a stag. So we're going to get him a Bill Lilly doll. Right. So she was all like, if you look her up, she looks almost exactly like the 1950s Barbie. All they did was like change some joints in it and then like changed a couple things here and there. But she bought one and she was like, okay, this is exactly what I need, because what she saw was her son had all kinds of toys, play, creative, like everything. And her daughter had paper dolls and baby dolls. And there was nothing for her to like play with and be creative in the way that little boys' toys were. So they got this guy who used to do missiles and like who designed like some kind of rocket bomb thing, and he's the one who created the joint movements in Barbie. So those were patented. So that's new in Barbie. And then they like shaved off her little like nipple things and made her look a little bit less. So that's how Barbie. Yeah, here's she is.
Here's the build little.
That's like exactly the same. Like I think the makeup's a little intense in the face, but that's literally the same doll.
Yeah.
And then here's the OG Barbie.
Yeah, that's also like the Mount Rushmore of Barbie heads in the background. That's the head on the forefront of that.
It's Barbie, Kira, Christy, and Teresa are on the monument, and there's.
I didn't notice that until my third viewing. Also, so that was great.
See, I was like, "That's Kira." That's like me. I was in the theater being like, "Oh my god!"
I just thought they were all Barbie. Oh
no, they're very important face molds. The first like African American friend, the first Asian friend, the first Latina friend. Those are the ones on the monument.
I didn't even really wrap my head around the fact that she's stereotypical Barbie until this viewing too, where I always just kind of thought they were all just different iterations of kind of the same person or something. Like I never really thought about it that hard, but this movie actually makes you think about that, which I thought was really interesting. And I'm glad that they expand the universe like that, because it's a somebody like me that loves shared universes of things. It made me interested in all these characters. So in the next movie, when they're pulling even more obscure 90s things that I remember from the Wish book or the Wish catalog, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that weird thing. What's the babysitter? And then she gets older, and then when you put her arms up, Skipper, yeah. And then
growing up Skipper.
And her boobs get bigger. Like, what the fuck?
That's puberty, baby.
So
you get massive melons.
If I tell you that was one of the like that was a doll that was, so a lot of the dolls were created by women. Like the main, they were called themselves the Pink Berets, and they were like the think tank of women creators. Growing up, Skipper was created by a man who was like, my daughter
shocking.
is going through changes. I want to have a doll that does that. So like you
And
pull
clearly the only change is that your boobs grow.
Yeah.
That's
and
it.
she gets a longer skirt, so she gets a little bit taller, and she comes with a short skirt, but then she's packaged with a longer skirt, and you can change the skirt on her,
Like a transformer.
like just like a transformer.
You have
Yes.
to be more demure, more chaste.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to
Cover
have
this up.
floor length gown now. You guys gonna have to rein me in because I can like tell you
Well,
everything about
my-
Barbie.
My
I
little bit of
understand why you're on the Barbie one now. There's so much knowledge.
No, this is fantastic.
I just
My,
have opinions.
my little bit of research that I did was like, oh, so I guess there probably is a Barbie in a wheelchair. So I wanted to look it up and like Becky. Her name was Becky, and the research that I did was that there was a little girl who was in a wheelchair and she had Becky and she had the dream house, but the wheelchair wouldn't fit in the elevator of the dream house. So she wrote a letter to Mattel being like, can you guys redesign it so that she can fit inside the elevator? And then according to the research I did, this might not be true. They tried 3 different times to develop a wheelchair or an elevator that would accommodate one another. They couldn't do it, so they just canceled the Becky doll instead. Like they just gave the middle finger to this child.
I think the wheelchair does roll into the current elevator,
Right.
but wheelchair Barbie is still a thing. So in 2014, they came out with a line called Fashionistas. So Barbie used to be like one height, and there were variations. Like the original Barbie wasn't blonde. She came in 3 different hair colors. She came in brunette, red, and blonde. But yeah, same basic type. The face mold has also changed a bit, but fashionistas have different face molds, different heights, and different body types. So that was their big thing of inclusivity. So they launched that, and in the fashionistas line, there's always a wheelchair. Like there's a wheelchair Chelsea as well, and then there's a wheelchair Barbie and a wheelchair Ken, and they are actually very good sellers. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. And she comes with a ramp.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here.
So they
like,
didn't cancel the doll then. My research was false. I just thought it was such an evil thing to do.
They may have canceled Becky because Becky's not a character anymore, but they do like they have characters that come and go. Like
Right.
Tommy was Ken's little brother at one point, but there's no like I think there might be maybe Tommy's a bad example, but like Christy was a baby, and then they turned her into Chelsea, and then like characters. They just come and go. Like Skipper's design has changed a couple times, and then you have Stacy, who's like a younger character who's newer. So yeah, like they're
Yeah, I'm not familiar anymore. I mean, when I was a kid, all this kind of stuff stuck in my mind a little bit because I watched so much TV. I would see the commercials for like, and now it's baby poopy or whatever, and like they would add a new character to the Barbie universe. Yeah, and then like. But eventually you stop watching cartoons, so you don't get advertised to anymore. And I don't see Barbie commercials anymore on my TikToks or anything, or my YouTube. I assume they probably exist.
It's not in the algorithm yet.
Yeah, if you're in certain
they
corners.
probably still air on like YTV or Disney Channel.
Yeah,
like,
or I assume if you go to like
channel.
If you go to like YouTube Kids or something, or like Netflix Kids, they probably have toy commercials on there. But I've never watched those, so I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
Unboxing is a huge thing. So there are entire channels that just
I know about
unbox
unboxing.
Things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
know
they
those,
have
yeah.
like little dolls and little like doohickeys. I have them littered over here somewhere, but I'm not gonna go find them. But like now they have them for these like little mini Barbie Land things where like you can get a little doll.
That's so small.
You
yeah.
gotta put your hand behind it.
Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Don't eat it, Noel.
Oh, okay. There's a tiny dog.
There's
okay,
like a
keep
thing
talking
online.
about the movie.
There's a thing online where like a bunch of people like started to admit that they would eat the Polly Pocket furniture or something. Like when they were kids, they just like liked putting the Polly Pocket.
Oh.
Sorry, my face actually got so like at that moment. No,
I didn't do it.
We're not allowed to talk about Polly Pocket on this because then I'd go off. So we just keep on Barbie.
I was gonna say I ate the Mighty Max furniture.
Yeah, I used to, that's all I ate as a kid. That's all my parents would feed me. They're incredibly rich, but all they would buy me is Mighty Mac. No, none of that's true. That's stupid.
Yeah, I subsisted on a diet of broccoli and Mighty Max furniture. Okay, so
here I'll do something. I've got a movie related thing that we can do. We'll just find this thing for it here.
Ready.
Nope, that's not it. Nope, sorry.
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
So many times.
Immediately. Yeah.
Oh, really? Sorry. I'm having some, I don't know what's going on over here. But they say Barbie for the first time in this film at 2:52, but this is 2 minutes and 52 seconds, almost immediately. But this is one of those films where the name of the main character and then several other characters are also named Barbie. So they say Barbie in this movie probably 300 times.
One day we'll watch it again and we'll count it. We'll have a little ticker.
Oh my God, a drinking game.
There we go. That's how we all die. Yeah, we all died rewatching Barbie.
If we all drink water, we'd be so hydrated.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, so the movie opens up with like the history of Barbie, and then you see like a lot of real Barbies, like totally hair Barbies. They're peaches and cream Barbie. Like anyone who has collected Barbies, they're from a whole bunch of different eras. Like they show all of the careers Barbie, which is its own line, because there's like Playline, there's Signature, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So they have all of them. In fact, the one I just showed was one of them. But then we meet Barbie in Dreamland, and isn't Dreamland just the coolest freaking place? Like they ran out of pink paint in the world because Greta Gerwig bought it all.
Also, real set. Like they did a tour of the set, and to walk into that, how would you not immediately be in a Barbie mindset of just like, I am playing right now. This is play.
Before, just sorry, one thing before we move on from into this next idea, I just want to ask you, because I found out how many times they say Barbie. I found it out.
Yay!
I know my guess was 300, and I'll let you guys each have a guess. Tatiana, how many times do you think?
Is this like Price is Right rules? Like if I say one, am I gonna win?
I don't know. Yes.
Okay. 402.
Okay. Noel.
56.
Steve?
99.
So rude. Okay.
Well, I won. It was 267 times.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, you know those people that go to a movie and then they walk out when they say the name of the movie? They
you gotta get up and leave.
You just gotta leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you guys, but before we move too far off from the subject, but you guys were talking about
the movie.
We're talking about garbage collector Barbie.
So we see her in this outfit.
Yes.
And very early in, you see the Wizard of Oz in the background where she's driving. And this movie is so Wizard of Oz coded that like that's just there on purpose. Like Barbie's Dreamland feels like Oz when like the sepia tone goes into like that amazing Technicolor. Like that's what Barbie feels like. Just the colors are so rich, and it is an Oz. And like obviously at the end she like clacks her heels together and goes into the real world, and like the journey is very opposite of the Wizard of Oz. But I just really like that there's like it's playing in the theater that she's driving by. I was just like, Greta, I see what you did there.
It also reminded me of the Brady Bunch movie. I know I've brought that up before on the show, but that's slightly different. The conceit of that is that the Brady Bunch are just themselves in the 1970s, but they live in the brutal 90s of grunge and hip hop and you know,
Pleasantville,
sex outside of marriage, Pleasantville as well as like that. But this had that thing of when they leave their, like the Brady Bunch house in the Brady Bunch movie is very like pastel colors, very bright. Everybody's like gets along and they're a big happy family. And then they go into the disgusting Los Angeles 90s and it's just like goes brown. And that's kind of what happens when they go to Venice Beach in this. Everything's really like gross.
But I mean, real life is gross. Also, she's wearing a gingham dress in pink, which is like the Wizard of Oz is the blue gingham dress, right? Like,
yeah. And I mean, yeah, to your point, no, like even just the artificial nature of everything, like the old Wizard of Oz, like the painted backgrounds and things like purposefully looking artificial. It's so charming in this movie. Her breakfast, her milk, and like her not drinking and like the shower,
the lack
not having
of
water.
water.
Yeah, like
everything not having water was amazing.
And then just like the little things where it's like, oh, we're going to go to the next level. Not only is she living in this dream world, but also she doesn't have to go down the stairs in her house or down her slide. She just levitates to her car as though there's a big giant hand moving her, right?
Yep.
Which is
Also,
so fun.
did you mention that when the wide shot that you said you were talking about how it's just a Barbie in a car? You said that already? Or it looks like it, the top down shot when she's driving through the...
We haven't talked about that yet, no.
Oh, okay. I noticed that this time because I was watching it on a big TV. I somehow didn't notice it in theaters, which is probably the biggest TV you can sit in front of. But I think the first time I saw it, I was kind of taking it all in. And that's why I somehow didn't notice the Barbie Mount Rushmore also. You're just kind of taking everything in. And I thought it looked really interesting. And to that note, a lot of the times when Barbie and the coming down like a hand is like just bring her down to the ground. When Barbie does like Barbie things in this movie, I thought it was really well done. Like when she's sitting on the curb and she's sad and she falls over and her legs stay straight, you know, and the weird Barbie splits thing, like it's so well done.
It is.
Yeah,
one of my favorite things.
Step out of the shoes.
Yes, and she's still on pointed toes. And that was one of the first, I think, press release shots. What got me when I first watched it was when she opens her fridge and it's just like the paintings, because in the Barbie houses and in the play sets, like some of it is like actual like pieces, but most of it is just stickers. Like, so when you open like the fridge, it's just like stickers of stuff. And so when I saw that, I was like, yes, because you only have like the one actual milk and you have pictures of the other items.
And your parents have to put those stickers on for you. You're not there already.
Oh, they're all sideways and whatnot.
Yeah. If your parents had shaky hands, your dream house looked like shit. Believe me, I know.
And then the Lizzo song that plays over, like if that was a real mirror, you'd see like she's singing about her day, and I think it's just too funny. I mean, Lizzo is canceled, but
she even
funny.
Stops and like speaks out, I think in like the day after where it's just not going as smoothly. Like it's just a very funny kind of like, it's a very funny bit in that movie. Like it really works.
Yeah, I think that the entire opening bit it's setting the tone for the rest of the movie, and it does an amazing job of kind of opening your eyes to what kind of humor you're going to be expecting, but not also giving away every kind of punchline throughout. You know, you can compare it to something like Austin Powers, where you're realizing, oh, this is going to be absurdist comedy the entire way through. We're watching a cartoon. And it is sort of that way in Barbie up to a certain point, and then the humor switches, right? We're getting different types of humor. It's almost like it becomes a different type of comedy, but the comedy's remaining until you get back to Mattel, the Mattel headquarters, where that is also just a cartoon show inside. Like the real world is the real world, and then Mattel and Dreamland are cartoons.
Well, they're little offices. I don't know how you get more out of
tiny cubicles.
Well, I don't know if anyone watches Sex Education, but pretty much the entire cast Education is in this movie. So kudos. I guess maybe Greta or whoever's hiring really enjoys that cast and that TV
Well, she
show.
likes English people because like Little Women, like a seminal like American text is all English people in Greta Gerwig's version, like all British. So Ben Kingsley, Adair, like everybody in this movie is from Sex Education, except Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling. But having Mattel be a bunch of bumbling buffoons with like Will Ferrell at the head is the best way, because you know that Mattel had to sign off on this. Like you cannot piss off Mattel. So instead of going into any sort of trickiness that you could with the corporation, the way that you do it is just making them bumbly fools, because that's like, it's palatable. Like you're still kind of making fun of it, but you're not actually making fun of anything.
You're also kind of bringing them in on the joke. And I think that's how you get something like a corporation to say yes to kind of making fun of them, is bring them in on the joke. Like, yes. I think that's the only way they could have done it. And it was very silly. Yeah. Will Ferrell at the helm was very silly.
And those moments, they feel like the Barbie Land stuff, they feel more like a stage play than everything else, right? Like even the chase sequence is almost like something you would see in a musical on stage, where there's like this weird choreography of them running and zigzagging through this cubicle bullpen basically, with all these people who are wearing the exact same clothing. Whereas like Barbie Land, everybody sort of has their own identity through their clothing in terms of the Kens. Like they're basically all the same guy, except they're just wearing different button-up t-shirts with nothing underneath. Whereas the Mattel company, all of the lower rung people are wearing a sweater vest, a button-up shirt, and like khakis, I think.
They did an interesting bait and switch with that, where the first time I saw the movie, I thought that guy that goes up to talk to America Ferrera was going to be more of a character in the movie. And then it's revealed that America Ferrera has a husband and stuff. And then none of this is the point also it's kind of shown. So I think that might've been a purposeful bait and switch to kind of create this character you would think would go on to be somebody's romantic interest, and then just forget him entirely, because that's not what
he's a man, Jason. He doesn't matter in this fucking movie.
That's exactly my point. And that's like the husband in this movie is a fantastic non-character who is only
that's her actual husband.
That's her
actual
husband.
Yeah, that's America Ferrera's husband.
He's learning Spanish on Duolingo. It's so cute. I love every scene he's in. It's only 2.
Yeah.
He's in 2? I thought it was just the one at the end.
No, it's 2. There's one when they like flash to him. I think it's like when she's crazy driving and like maybe that's it. And she's like, oh, I was dating this guy.
It's when they're rollerblading back to Barbie World, and she's like, the daughter is like, I can't believe you're actually taking your like tween daughter to like a magical land, and she's like, I never get to do anything, like, and then the daughter's like, what about dad? And she's like, oh, he'll be fine. And then they do the cutaway to him being like, bolígrafos, and then the daughter's like, yeah, you're right, he'll be fine.
I forgot about that part.
In the journey back to like the Mattel, I guess the C-suite, they're all on the tandem bike together. I absolutely loved it. I think they have like an Amsterdam, like kind of Dutch background behind them, and I was like, what a beautiful little moment for all of you.
Doesn't Will Ferrell say like beautiful countryside, and then they all say beautiful countryside at the exact same time?
You should see the boat. So the snowsuits that they're wearing on the ski things, they're made by Chanel, and Chanel doesn't make men's clothing. So Ken's snowsuit is a 1 of 1.
Oh, crazy.
She wears a couple. Chanel. I think she wears another Chanel outfit in this too, or at least Barbie does. Very beautiful end outfit when she's like boss pitching it, where she's just like,
When she goes to see Ken at the very end of the plan, apparently Ryan Gosling ad-libbed the sublime.
It's literally one of my only 4 notes, and all it says is sublime, because I have to rewind and watch that part multiple times. Oh, you just think he's gonna cheer. That's all. You're like, he's gonna go like, yes, sublime is just.
I bet they took 30 of those with different words, and sublime just hit so hard.
The idea, I think, is that like Ken has finally started reading books, so he's probably learning new words and really trying to milk them for what they are.
They're books about horses. So I think this movie's actually really hard to talk about, especially with me, because I'm going to keep being like, did you know? But one of the things, we're jumping all over the place, but I have to say it.
It's fine. I wanted to say, was the mermaid Dua Lipa? The mermaid was Dua Lipa, right?
The mermaid was Dua Lipa.
And John Cena.
And of course, John Cena.
John Cena wasn't in this movie.
Yes,
he was. He was Boy Mermaid. He
was
okay.
I see.
I didn't see
it. Oh, I get it.
I'm wearing his arch rival's wrestling t-shirt.
What is it that he does? Yeah, okay. John Cena. Okay, so when Barbie goes up and he's clearly not reading, and you hear like a tussling thing, and then he comes out with a book, and it's like, oh, you caught me reading. It's like there's so many, and he's reading like a book about horses. There's so many moments in this movie where I can link back to like the men in my life or douchebags who I've met. And one of my favorite like absolute takedowns of somebody that I know was that he was described as the kind of guy who has Kierkegaard in his back pocket, so that you know that he's reading Kierkegaard. So
I will unabashedly read my Star Wars books and not give a shit who knows about it on the bus even.
Yeah, that's but different. Kierkegaard is like that's some college level shit. Like nobody is reading.
It's a
Kierkegaard.
Very specific type of image you're trying to put out. Honestly, I would also agree in terms of just references to very cringy things that people have done, and I think the most epic one that they like kind of built so big, like they did it so over the top to like show how absurd it is the serenading. it tickles me every time. I had a dude who was doing, I guess he was like performing or live at like a Finn McCool's, stare me in the eyeballs, dedicate a song to me while I'm just trying to have a drink with my friends and sing I'm Yours by Jason Mraz. I had to literally get up and leave. I had to leave. He was in board shorts and a long tie. I was like, I don't know what I've done in my life to deserve this. I'm uncomfortable. And this movie brought up every feeling I had in that moment and then made me laugh about it. So now I can listen to Jason Mraz's I'm Yours again. So
that's psychological warfare in some countries, I think.
Yeah. While I stare into your eyes uncomfortably for the next 4 minutes, 1 hour later.
I wanna put you around. The worst fucking song.
Yeah, that's like Greta Gerwig did some very important cultural takedowns, I think. Like her and Noah Baumbach, one of them was that song, which is about an abusive relationship. I think like that's pretty clear.
Completely missing the point of a song. That's dudes love doing that.
But my favorite is when the Nobel Prize winning Barbie, when she gets unbrainwashed. With America Ferrera's like patriarchy speech, and she's like, I've suddenly felt very invested in the Snyder cut of the Justice League, like while she was brainwashed. It was one of my favorite lines, because there's a couple things. Like one, people mansplain like Zack Snyder's Justice League to me all the time, and Batman stuff, and all of the stuff. And oh boy, do people mansplain The Godfather to me.
Yeah.
I was sitting in like my cubicle, like I was sitting at my work, and I just said, I've never seen The Godfather. And not one, not two, but 3 different men turned around in their swivel chairs and went, you've never seen The Godfather? And none of them had seen this movie. Like they hadn't seen Barbie. And I was just like, you guys.
So wait, have you seen The Godfather?
No.
Just kidding.
You're feeding the point, right? Like you're literally feeding that moment. Like
No,
this is
kidding.
Yeah.
That's
that
funny.
entire thing of how they tricked or not tricked, but like distracted the guys to get these women away to deprogram them. So funny.
Because I would like to see you practice this again, Jason. This is what The Godfather posted.
No, I was gonna say now we've all seen The Godfather.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I didn't see The Godfather until I was like 38, and every time I would tell somebody, pretty much same thing. Dudes will mansplain to dudes as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that's the thing with the patriarchy is that it's bad for men.
Yeah.
That's one of the movies where I think people put so much weight on it that I'm scared to watch it. Like I'm just because generally I get bored.
Yeah.
It's please don't get mad at me, but it took me 3 tries to watch Dark Knight without falling asleep. I agree. I really enjoyed Dark Knight when I finally got through it all. But I think the stress of being like, okay, this movie's supposed to be really good, absolutely destroyed me. And so by like stress me was like 30 minutes in, you fall asleep.
Well, it's like people who haven't seen Star Wars and then they come to it later and they're like, what's the big deal here? And you can't remove yourself from knowing about stuff like Yoda and like you just know things from osmosis. But The Dark Knight is a highly overrated movie, and that is a different podcast. I have thoughts, and I have Batmans littered around here, so I'm legit, guys.
I like that movie, but it's edgelord. It's edgelord.
I like it too.
It's just I think that's generally people overhype movies where they're like, "This is the best movie you'll see," and then you kind of sit there being like,
and people also like they weirdly connect themselves to the movie and adopt it as part of their personality to a point that it's unhealthy.
What?
I'm not commenting on anybody in the room right now.
This movie's the best movie.
There was like a large chunk of my life where like Star Wars was attached to my identity to the point that people knew me as like a Star Wars person, and every gift I would get would be a Star Wars themed thing. And maybe I don't want a Star Wars present anymore, guys. Give me something
other
else.
Things.
I like other stuff.
Other than Galactica toy.
But I mean, like that was my own doing, and I did love Star Wars. But like, there are people who do the same thing with The Dark Knight and with The Godfather, and The Godfather is heralded as one of the best movies ever made, but it doesn't mean that you have to like it. It really doesn't. It
also,
doesn't at all.
At the time, right? Like, is that going to last forever? Is like the world changes? You don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can watch The Godfather and appreciate it, but I'm not going to sit here and like have my jaw hit the ground if you don't like it. I'll be like, yeah, I can understand why you don't like it.
Shouldn't be your personality. I think that's just the base point here.
What do you mean?
Sorry.
What do you mean? Hey Noel, how many times did you see 6 in the theater?
Oh God.
Like, I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, I was there for one of
I
them.
think 9 times.
Yeah.
You know what? Theater runs are different because they're short. So if you like it, you really only have the time that it's here.
And Barbie, I was only ever going to see it on the giant screen like that. Oh, so I did not like it the
You
first
can
time.
rent a theater. Just putting that out there.
That's true. Did I mention that I did? It's not that. Sorry, it's not that I didn't like it. It's that I sat there and was like, "Yay, Barbie Dreamland!" And then as soon as Ken found out about the patriarchy, as soon as like they went into Century City, is that what it's called? And he sees the montage of like Ronald Reagan and Rocky and all of that.
Yeah.
I started to feel panic. Like just a panic overcome me, and then I was like, "Oh no!" And then he's like the thing where he's pretending that he's saying no to a woman, and he's like doing the thing where he's just like, "I want to do one appendectomy, like I want to be a doctor,"
Just
and
one,
doesn't believe that the woman is a doctor. So that whole sequence, and then him going to like Barbie Land and like taking patriarchy there, I was like having mad anxiety because I was like, I came to this movie to watch like Barbie and Barbie's Dreamland. I didn't come to watch like my life and reality happen in front of me. Like I was like so stressed out about the patriarchy, and I was like, how are they going to get this back? Like I was like, they're going to take their constitution. Like I was like,
they've already changed the Mount Rushmore.
Well, I
will say, Ken is literally a child. Like Ken has in this, he's kind of like that childlike wonder, very and it's kind of like kids' brains are very easily maneuvered into thoughts and ideas, especially if it favors them. So you're kind of just seeing how growing up with something, especially I think as an adult, if you're just being shown it for the first time and you have this childlike wonder, it hits hard, and then you're kind of just like, I'm going all in. I have been the wronged party.
It's wonderful though, because he adopt like the montage. It steals our music from the beginning, this uplifting music of the evolution of Barbie and the evolution of little girls. Reuses that song again with, horrible the sound design again. I really want to talk about the sound design, but like the fist bumps with these like and it's like deep bass and
with the space Zarathustra in the background.
Yeah, and the music playing, but it's a little bit more upbeat and it's a little bit more sort of rock and roll. And he's visually adopting all these mannerisms from the men that he's seeing, but he's also physically adopting their styles and like amalgamating it into one thing where he becomes this sort of Frankenstein of all the shitty pieces of patriarchy that he picks up along the way. And for me, like, I'm just, obviously it's a stressful moment and you're worried for the Barbies, but at the same time you're like, it's so fucking funny. It's so ridiculous. It's
showing
funny.
the absurdity of it too, right? Like it's absurd. Like it is.
It's like it was just too real, and it wasn't until like Barbie Land like got like it was the jumpsuit scene that I finally like felt comfortable again. And was like, okay, we're good. Like I know where I am, and so I went to see a second time because I was like, now I know what's going to happen. So how will I feel about it? And I just loved it the whole way through. So patriarchy stresses me out, apparently.
Why?
I don't know. To the childlike wonder thing, I also think this isn't a political show, but it's kind of a comment on how disenfranchised men who have been told that the world is theirs, but then they go to the world and it's not theirs because the world is a messed up place and it's nobody's and shit's not going to be handed to you. They're disenfranchised, and then they see something like QAnon and then they get wrapped up into it, and then like the programming, the radicalization of young men is a current thing. And so like that's part of why I was having so much anxiety, because it just felt so real. Like I've seen people get radicalized like that.
Do you know when it was also a thing? In
Forever?
1940s Germany.
Oh God.
So what? Incels are Nazis.
Okay.
Some of the time they are, actually. So
this is Chelsea.
Hey,
She's one of Barbie's little sisters.
What's up with Barbie's little sister? That's going to be a plot line in the next one, probably, right?
Maybe. You see Skipper. Skipper is Barbie's little sister. She was the first little kid doll.
I called it Poopy Barbie, but I couldn't remember the name. But Skipper is the.
I kept wanting to say Stacy, but that's from The Simpsons.
No, Stacy is also a sister of Barbie.
Okay.
No, Malibu Stacy.
Yeah, Malibu Stacy is from.
Well, Barbie. So. Funny story.
Don't ask me. I'm just a girl.
Don't ask me.
There's a movie that came out. So there's two Barbies. There's Brooklyn Barbie and Malibu Barbie. And this is like a new thing, so that they have like an African American Barbie, but she's her own character. So the one from Malibu is like your stereotypical stereotypical Barbie, and then she has this Brooklyn counterpart. So it's
He's like,
actually
hey,
a
let's get some
cool
fucking
way.
pizza over here, Barbie.
Pizzeria Barbie. Yeah.
But
I was talking
hey,
about Brooklyn.
Yeah.
All right. We've kind of gotten all over the place, but
I know it's so
this
hard
movie
with this movie
really
to
hard
like
to
stay
talk
on
about.
point.
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
we didn't even get through the opening montage, but
I ran to the bathroom and I was like to my partner, I'm like, I don't even know. I want to talk about set design. I want to talk about the music. There's just so much.
yeah.
We used to have a format, and then Steve was like, that's too much format. So I turned off the format.
No, it's
and
because
now...
we went through every single thing that happens in the movie. We don't need to do that. We can talk about swashes of things. It's
But this
easier.
movie is actually really hard to talk about, which is why, like, when the trailers came out, like, no one knew what it was about.
Yeah,
And then you
I
watched
didn't watch.
it.
I watched one trailer for it, and then I was like, I don't want to know what I'm going into. Like different than I do with like the MCU. Like it wasn't my trailer thing, my weird idiosyncrasy. I just wanted to go in there and experience it moment to moment.
Well, that's sort of the beauty of Barbie, is that you didn't really need to give us a plot outline in the trailer. You can just show images.
Just show a bunch of things.
But like they could have.
Big fans.
They could have.
But this movie's hard to talk about because you have the scene where Ken is introduced and then he gets injured on the beach and he looks like an idiot, and then he's acting kind of like a stereotypical woman would, where the Barbies pick him up and he's like, oh, you're so strong to them, and then like you find out that his job is beach, and then it goes from there into a dance sequence at Barbie's.
He asks Barbie he asks Barbie if he can come over to her house, and she says, sure, I'm not doing anything, I'm just having a highly choreographed dance party with all of the other Barbies in the neighborhood. You should stop by.
And bespoke music.
Yeah.
Which, to talk about that song at the dance party, Dua Lipa put all the lyrics to it after it was already dance sequenced and out. They were like, we need you to add it after the fact. So like, power to her. That's get that vibe.
She's fantastic.
I wonder if that would be more difficult or easier.
Like, how do you? I think it's difficult. I think maybe because you can visually see what's supposed to happen. I wonder if there's like an ease to it to be like, hey, what are we trying to get out here? But still, I that's pretty awesome.
That's cool though, and the dance is very funny, and it's it incorporates everybody that we've been introduced to in the opening montage, and in a fun and in interesting way. And then we get our evil Kens, and they're not evil, but they're stupid. They just don't know.
Bouncing off each other. They're just like jealous of each other, but I think they don't really know why. And I think that's all very
drinking out of golden goblets.
I don't know what this says about me, but I found it very endearing. I think it's because I do love Simu. I don't know his name.
Simu
Liu, that's it. I was gonna say Shang-Chi, but different universe.
And then I like
Kim's Convenience Kid.
Yes.
I like Scroll Barbie, as I keep calling him, the guy that was in the Secret Invasion TV show and in the
Kingsley Benadire.
Yeah, Scroll Barbie.
And then we have the new doctor in there as well, also a sex education alumni.
That's who he is. I was like, why do I know this guy?
I love him. I think he is an absolute powerhouse. When he came out as the new doctor, I was like, there's literally, I don't watch Doctor Who. I might start because of him.
And Captain America's gay brother is in
it too.
Yes,
he's in it as well.
This time I was watching it going, where do I know that particular actor from? And he's amazing. The reboot Doctor Who that's on Disney right now. Yeah.
And now you have Nicola. There's.
I thought it was a soft reboot.
No, they replace the doctors every couple of years, and they just.
I don't think they do reboots.
No, I know that.
I think they just sort of. Oh, maybe I don't know. I think they just do. They not just put more new doctors out.
It's just like the Doctor is reincarnated as a different form. But
I know what you're saying, though, Jason. It's like
they change the production of it every like 20 years, though. Like in the early 2000s, they had that season with Vitamin C and that guy that kind of looks like Jason Statham that died recently, and that was a reboot of Doctor Who. And supposedly this new iteration it's a continuation, but they changed the way the show looks. And they
Vitamin C?
Yeah, she sang that graduation song.
It's called Graduation Song.
Are you talking about which doctor are you talking about?
Or maybe I'm thinking of a different person. I thought it was Vitamin C, but it's apparently not, because you're giving me squinty or an idiot eyes.
No, I don't know. I don't know that much about Doctor Who.
Yeah, but I mean, even like the original Doctor Who is still considered canon within the Doctor Who universe.
I understand that.
So you're just saying that a new production company is handling the production?
That's right.
Okay.
Also, I think maybe trying to get a new audience to come back into it, because again, like I said, I've always been interested in Doctor Who, but been very overwhelmed by where to start. But I love this actor, and I feel like maybe there might be others like me.
It's like a reimagining, and like they have. Anyway, we could have a Doctor Who podcast.
If we want our podcast to go for 40 years.
My problem with Doctor Who is that there's literally episodes that are destroyed, so I would never be able to watch it all, so I can watch none of it.
Okay. You could start at like, what is it, the 9th Doctor, Eccleston?
Eccleston, that's the one I'm talking about. Who was his sidekick?
Oh, she's English singer.
Vitamin C. No,
Billy Piper. Something or other.
Vitamin D.
Yeah,
Billy
Piper.
C is not Billy Piper.
I was joking,
Correct.
I swear.
No,
yes,
they are
the
different
music.
people.
So, like the dance sequences, there's several dance sequences in the movie, and it's like back to that old Hollywood that you see with like the Wizard of Oz and the map paintings and all of that. You've basically got like a oh my god, what's his name? Gene, famous
Wilder?
dancer.
Oh,
no,
not Gene Wilder.
Although that's
Gene Kelly.
Gene Kelly, yes.
Yeah,
so you have like those dance sequences, and like back in the day, movies were just like movie musicals. They would just shoot the stage, and you would just see like a dance sequence happening on the stage, and it was just like, let's put on a show, and then it'd be on the stage. So seeing that, just like a dance sequence that's its own thing. Like I love that sort of shit. Like I love 50s movies, and I love movie musicals from that era. So, and I love Judy Garland stuff. So seeing that, and then the Ken's dance, which is very, very Gene Kelly coded at the very end. But like, how do you explain that? Like the plot is moving through these dance sequences somehow, but like
they did 2. I can't even say 2. I'm gonna say 3, because I think the Ken fight at the end is essentially a dance sequence. Like there's no other way to describe it.
There's literally people dancing during that.
And they're just hitting each other with like fake things. I loved it. But there's like 3, and they're all so good. And I think they all move the story. Like they don't feel extraneous. And I think in a way the first one could feel like it didn't need to be there. But like it felt so perfect. You're like, why wouldn't you have a perfectly coordinated dance party followed by a girls' night? Like who's tired, right? Like who has work in the morning? Like it's just
Yeah, and it's part of like Barbie play, right? Like you had Barbie, like if you had a dream house and you had a bunch of Barbies, like no one had a Ken, so all your Barbies were just having sleepovers all the time, right? Like, but it's just so the dialogue is so funny when Harry Neff Barbie is just like, hurry up, the president's here, and Issa Rae's like, I am, you're welcome, and she's using that giant Barbie brush that like used to come with your Barbies.
Yeah,
so,
it was all plastic. It couldn't brush anything.
Exactly. Yes.
So good.
Oh, my eyes.
Life in Plastic is fantastic.
And then we go to Weird Barbie. Okay, the scene where her feet fall flat, because I feel like that's sort of the next morning, because she has bad breath. She wakes up and she's not perky and happy to go. Yeah, cold shower, and that. Apparently, Margot Robbie watched like old shampoo commercials to really get the like what to do in a fake shower kind of down. I think she really nailed it.
And old infomercials to get what to do
like when
something
she's
goes
like,
wrong.
Like when there's no water coming
and then
down,
the milk's bad or the orange juice is bad, and I'm like, oh, the worst. Like everyone's had that experience, and it makes you not drink milk for like like a very long time.
I think Margot Robbie is an underrated like physical comedy actor, I would say. She's usually in pretty serious roles, and she got to sort of put that on display in this, where like that scene I was talking about earlier where she's sitting and falls over later in the movie when she's like the whole world has come crumbling down and she's just face down crying. Yeah, hilarious.
But it's funny because you're right. Like her physical movements in that are just so reminiscent of how a Barbie moves that like you can't help but laugh. And I don't know, it helps like lighten that moment.
Yeah, and even leading up to that, like the way she kicks off her shoes and like pulls off her coat and then like throws her earrings and then just like sits and then like goes sideways like a plastic doll. Like the whole thing is really, really great. Like she's perfect casting for it. I mean, she was a producer. She got this movie made in a lot of ways. Like she was a big force behind it. But she's incredible. In the doll community, when this was cast, people were like, Ken's too old. Like Ryan Gosling is way too old and Margot Robbie's too old. And like everyone was mad about the casting and then they were wrong.
They were wrong.
They were
They did
wrong.
a great job. Like they did an amazing job. It's also
Maybe
hard to
being-
think of a younger actor and actress that you would sit there and be like, you'd work. Like it
I
would just
think
be
you'd have to have unknowns.
Yeah.
Really, I can't think of anybody else who like is perfect for this.
The only
way that these
person that
two-
I think looks like Barbie and is younger is Reese Witherspoon's daughter. But she doesn't act, so it's hard to say what she would be like in this.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Gosling, I mean, he started out in comedy. Like anyone in Canada watched Breaker High, who's our age, and like he was in Young Hercules. And people seem to think like he's a serious actor for some reason, but like he's been in
He's
a
done
bunch of
so many
comedy,
comedy movies.
and he's
What's-
super funny.
What is the one that he did? Was it The Other Guys or something? Or yeah, he's in a lot of comedies. Like I think he generally is. I think like a person just based on this that maybe doesn't take himself too seriously. Like he's saying, "I'm just Ken at the Oscars." He did it. Full
There were
stop.
so many Canadian Kens, like Alan, Ryan Gosling, Simu, like Greta Gerwig said that there was something about the Canadian men that was like softer and like gentler and nicer. So it's like the only American I think is Chris Evans' brother.
And the British guy, yeah.
And if you guys are right and John Cena was in this movie, I didn't see him. He's American, right?
No, like the main Kens.
Oh.
Like the only American, like they
He's
were British
technically-
and
I think-
Canadian.
I think Barbie John Cena might be a Barbie. Like I don't think they made dude mermaids.
Like a merman.
They do.
Yeah.
So recently
they?
they had, he was a signature collection merman Ken. And so he was on Mattel Creations and he was really
So he
expensive.
is a Ken.
Yeah, that's why Dua Lipa is based off of a Playline mermaid doll, and Playline is the ones that like are for kids, and then the signature collections are the collector ones. So Merman Ken, I can't remember what his actual name was, but like he's a collector, and Dua Lipa's are Playline.
I'm surprised WWE hasn't made a Ken mermaid doll.
They call them
Mat-
action figures.
Right. True. But Mattel also owns the rights for WWE action figures. So I'm surprised. I'm sure that'll come. WWE does this thing where they make action figures out of like every costume a wrestler ever wore. So I'm sure that action figure will come out one day. Probably grab it.
He's getting a brewski. I think that's the only time he's out there is Dua Lipa being like, a brewski.
My big guy's thirsty.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, so good. So many good moments. But yeah, the feet falling flat, absolutely incredible. And then I think when she's walking a weird Barbie house and she's like, I would never wear these shoes if my feet were like this, did make me giggle.
Yes. Because we all have flat feet and we are made to wear high heels. And
We're
we
not
would
made,
never.
but every time you choose to
Well,
do it, you're
yes.
kind of like, why in the world is there not a better way?
I mean, fashion over the years have dictated that women like had a heel in their shoes. Like,
I had a job once where it was a serving job, and they said you had to be in a minimum 1-inch heel or 2-inch heel, something like that. Not because they want you prancing around in heels, but for safety reasons, because there could be broken
safety.
glass on the floor.
oh, of course.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Jeez.
And the chefs all have Crocs on in the back.
This is
Throwing-
a chain restaurant
throwing
that I
knives
can
at each other?
very much assure you every person has gone to. But yeah, broken glass on the floor. This like 50-year-old man was trying to explain this concept to me. I was just like, this is a bad place.
Did
It was
he have to
only-
wear? Did he have to wear heels or?
No, he doesn't. I was really about to ask, but at the same time, I needed a job because I was moving to Paris in 3 months. So I was just like, I got to make money fast.
It was only like recently brought up in like the Ontario Workers' Rights Code that you couldn't force women to wear heels as part of a job, as part of a serving job. Or
Can you
or
imagine
whatnot.
serving in any sort of inch heel? It's ridiculous. Your feet hurt if you're not in proper running shoes. I think I wore Toms to my first couple shifts at one job, and I was like, my feet are dying. I'll never be able to walk again. Like, yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. that it's
Non-slip
recent.
soles are
Yeah.
also safer than
Yeah.
the heel.
Also, there's not a lot of broken glass on the floor. Like, I
How
can
much
pretty
glass was breaking at this
Yeah.
restaurant?
You'd
People
like you're more
muzzle
likely to
top
slip on
every
it.
10 minutes.
But a lot of
Ridiculous.
the new Barbies and fashionistas have flat feet.
I love it.
Do they have like
Sneakers are all
a
the
click
rage
inside
now.
them to make them go?
The click, no. There's actually, you know what? That's a different podcast. I can tell you about.
I just remember I think my
quality of
sister
Barbie.
had one that like the foot you could put it into heel mode and flat foot mode when I was a kid, but
Like
I
a
might
joint.
be imagining that.
No, there's been a bunch of stuff like that. Like there's a line of dolls called Rainbow High, and the beach doll comes with flat feet, but then you can unclick the feet, like take off the feet. They come with a second set of feet
Oh,
that are
geez.
in like a heel.
That's terrifying.
That's
Remove
how
your
Bratz
Barbie's
dolls
feet.
were. Bratz dolls, you had to remove the whole boot. Like the shoes came off. They were part of the leg. So when you go and see like used Bratz, like they just have these little nubs for legs because like the kids have lost the shoes.
I had these wrestling action figures in the 90s that had bone crunching action, where when you moved their arm like this, there was a little mechanism inside that's kind of like what I think Steve's talking about, where you can click the feet to like, it's almost like a little wire, but it made like a crunch. So fucking weird. Kids
Well, Barbie
toys,
had a
man.
knee, like her knee joint had
Yeah,
the double
that's-
click. So it would
Right.
click and then click, and that's how you
So
got
she had bone crunching action too.
And I think we just have to really do a nod to the fact that dolls and action figures, not much of a difference.
They're literally
No.
the same
Just
thing.
They are
really how
all
they're
dolls.
marketed and named.
That's like a proven thing where they started calling them action figures because boys didn't want to play with dolls.
like G.I.
anymore.
Joe is a doll.
It was
Yeah.
a doll.
It was called a doll, yeah, and then they're like, we're gonna
My-
call it an action figure.
My brother was obsessed with the Little Mermaid doll. Absolutely obsessed. He took it everywhere. He took it in the bath. He went to bed with it. He changed her outfit. And everyone was just like, why is he playing with dolls? Why is he playing with dolls? And my parents were like, okay, wait, give him a He-Man action figure. He's just walking around just like a really burly dude. What's the difference? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah. In fact, that's weirder.
Yeah, He-Man's wearing a loincloth.
Yeah. And he's got like an 8-pack and his shoulders are too wide. Like he could
Yeah.
not possibly stand. People say Barbie couldn't stand. I don't think He-Man could stand.
Yeah, and they didn't shave his nipples off. He-Man's nipples were out.
And we know that
Really?
causes corruption.
I mean, there was a big to-do about Barbie's panties because she used to have like plastic panties that were put in. So in order to, you know what, that's a different podcast.
No, don't finish the thought. At least.
So there's a brand of dolls. It's owned by Mattel. They're American Girl dolls, and they just have like soft bodies. Like they just have little like soft bodies, like this. So their whole body is just that all the way down. And at one point they put in perma panties. So like right now they have removable underwear, but they put it in and like it was a huge problem. Like I don't know why they wanted to do that, but like that's a thing. And Barbie has like little plastic like underwear that's like painted on so that she's not naked. Like that's the whole thing. It's a doll.
Yeah, but it's Earth.
I just think again, it's adults putting things on children's toys, but
Yeah, it's stuff
Absolutely.
that children would never think about. It's just the adults thinking
Yeah.
about it. Too much. So where are we at? This is about when Ken walks away and he's sad. He's sad
Yeah.
because he didn't get invited to the sleepover again, the girls' night. He never gets invited to the girls' night. And, you know, you feel a little bit sad for him. You get it. You understand his perspective. He doesn't have a purpose without Barbie's gaze on him. So I assume he's just always depressed any moment that Barbie's not paying attention to him, which is sad. He doesn't have his own identity. And then the next day is when Barbie starts to fall apart, and we get a nice funny scene at the beach where they discover her flat feet, and they all go like, flat fish.
Yes, everyone starts like
gagging.
throwing up.
Yeah.
But considering there's no liquid here, I think they're actually throwing up.
Yeah, they're supposed to be barfing for real. And then Ken is barfing, and they're like, "Stop!" They tell him to stop immediately.
You don't get to get an opinion on
Yeah,
this.
you're not allowed to barf. Only we can barf. And then she goes to meet the best Barbie, Weird Barbie. I mean, my favorite Barbie. I don't know if it's the best, but
She's
in
so
my opinion,
funny.
she's
Okay,
my
but we
Barbie.
start out by seeing a dog, which is a real toy, just pooping.
Pooping on his
Tanner!
legs, yeah.
Tanner
Absolutely
the
amazing.
dog. So he was discontinued because the Barbie had a little pooper scooper, so his poop would come out, and then the pooper scooper was a magnet that you could like pick up the poop with, but the magnet would come loose. So it was actually like a safety reason
Choking
that it was
hazard.
recalled.
Yeah.
Also,
Children
the poop
eat
kind of feels like a
magnet.
choking hazard.
For some reason that wasn't an issue, but it was like the magnet coming loose, I guess, because if you eat a magnet and then you also have another piece of metal, your insides get like clonked together and you could die.
Yeah. Magnets are probably not great to eat.
No,
Fake
don't eat
poop
them.
though, you can do that all dang day long.
Oh, the video camera Barbie, she was discontinued because of an FBI investigation. Because if you put cameras that you can upload like a certain amount of content in the hands of little kids, and then people could
Right.
film children. Filming
yeah.
children's probably not a good idea through a doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a TV, but it was a camera.
It was
It's
a
a
camera on
camera.
one side, and then you could see
Oh.
what you're doing on the back. Yeah.
And then you can
Oh, I
upload it into a computer.
I thought that Barbie just was like you could just like put little videos into it that would play. I didn't
No,
realize
you
it was like a video
recorded.
camera. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes of footage, I think, that you could record.
I just feel like maybe they didn't have a very good like you know how you come up with ideas and then you need people to sit there and be like, that might be a bad idea. They lacked that team for like a lot of Barbies.
Yeah.
They were just trying stuff, seeing what stuck.
Yeah. You needed like someone who wasn't a yes man to be like, I
Not
don't
a good
really know,
idea.
guys. Sugar
Yeah.
daddy, sugar's daddy. Like, what are we?
Well, I
We
guess
don't
someone
want to give
asked.
kids a cock ring. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
They kind of hint on that in this movie within the things that are happening in Barbie Land as things sort of unravel. All that stuff's happening in real life, like the Ken doll and the Ken mansion all are selling
Dojo,
before they're even
dojo.
released. The
Yeah,
movie's a
house, house,
blockbuster
house.
before it's even released. And Depression Barbie becomes a thing like in the real world. I assume that's what that indicated.
Yes, it was.
You know,
It was
A
a
sugar
friend in
daddy
the real
came
world.
to Barbie World and then it
Yeah.
ended up in the real world.
They
So,
actually
normal.
are releasing a Sugar's Daddy Ken. Like,
Oh man, I was
They
wondering
drew-
if they were going to make the Depression Barbie and the Cellulite Barbie in tandem with this movie as like limited edition.
They made
collector's
Weird
items.
Barbie.
yeah, they did.
They made a Weird Barbie.
Weird
They kind of
Barbie
actually
is a little easier to get away with, but Depression Barbie and Cellulite Barbie maybe not so much.
Irrepressible Thoughts of Death Barbie.
That's
I think
a
that
good
one would be
one,
the
yeah.
hardest one. Like cellulite Barbie, you could just throw out. Like that's a good, like almost the entire 100% of women in the world. So like, add it to Barbie. Let's
Throw it
represent.
in there, yeah.
Exactly.
So then she's sent on a mission to go to the real world, which is a charming little moment where we have these maps and drawings that are clearly drawn by children. I am wondering if they, if they just had a really talented adult artist who was able to emulate child drawings, or they actually got a child to draw the map and stuff like, because it's so authentic looking to me that like, I would be surprised if they didn't get a child to actually draw these things.
I wonder
don't know
if
if
it's
you-
actually a map, like actually like a Barbie map. I'm not sure.
Well,
There
it's
was a controversy around this map. I
Mhm.
think it was a conspiracy theory thing, though.
Not a
Like a
conspiracy.
Pixar
Wasn't
theory.
it, wasn't it not able to be shown in China or something because of like
Yeah.
certain lines that depicted Taiwan? I'm not sure. 100%.
What?
Here, I'm gonna-
That might just,
yeah, I'm gonna-
that
I'm
might
gonna
just
pull
be
it up.
coming from Instagram. Please don't quote me.
Okay. It's a real-
Vietnam has banned
Boomer
Warner
Facebook
Brothers'
moment.
highly
That's it, okay.
anticipated film Barbie from domestic distribution over a scene featuring a map that shows China's unilaterally claimed territory in South China Sea. State media reported on Monday.
It's the most fake map in the world. We can look at that
Yes.
and say that map does not depict the real world.
The continents they're not even attached. They're just all
Yeah.
islands. They're all
And she
floating.
calls it the country of Los Angeles in
Yeah.
the
That's the conspiracy theory element to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted
they're
to
Barbies. They don't really understand.
Yeah.
I did want to touch on the fact that when Barbie's sent on her magical journey by Weird Barbie, that character reminds me of like an 80s fantasy movie where the hero like has to go on their journey and they have to meet with some sort of weird sage.
Yeah, it's
That
like
happened a
it's an
lot.
archetype from it's like
From, like,
the
fantasy.
wizened
Yeah.
elder sends you on a quest.
They
is-
spoofed
Or-
the Matrix. They're like, do you want like the
Yeah.
red pill or the blue pill? And she's like,
Yeah.
I'd like to keep my own, like, I'd like to just stay here and be perfect. Thank you.
It's
So-
almost like, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
It's almost like when Dorothy went to Glinda and Glinda was like, follow the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
funny
what that
because
scene is.
Kate McKinnon does an amazing Glinda impression in the Ghostbusters 2016 movie. I don't know if you've ever. She
I
goes,
watched it
"Come out,
recently."
come out wherever you are.
I really like that movie. So yes,
I'm not allowed to talk about it anymore because everybody thinks I'm a misogynist because I don't like it.
Well, you
You
are.
know what?
if you
I
don't like
think
it.
there's a large population of people that dislike it because they're like, it's not the Ghostbuster I know. I really enjoyed it. And I will put myself on.
I like it for what it is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
it's
that's
fun.
exactly it. I like it for what it is. I'm not expecting it to be Ghostbusters because you can't. And Ghostbusters 2 already
They're
ruined
also
what
old now.
Ghostbusters is. And
No,
then there was a whole
Ghostbusters 2 is a
show.
fantastic film.
Anyway,
We're on Barbie,
Barbie.
Birkenstock or high heel.
You guys don't want to talk about Aegon the Carpathian or whatever? The city of Ooze. The Ooze is pink.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. So this is
Vigor the Carpathian.
Vigor. Sorry, is it Vigor or Vigo?
Vigo. Sorry, Vigo.
Egor's from House Earn, but it's fine.
Also, that guy was in The Mouth of Madness. Remember when he's like, Tommy boy?
For like 8 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
They
a
just-
horrible man in real life, apparently. He's like a
Oh,
monster.
look at him. Look at his
Yeah.
face.
Anyway, that's a different movie, a different 2 movies.
Also, side note, the chat is having an idea fest of what we should do for a podcast. And basically, Noel should have a podcast called That's a Different Podcast, where we revisit topics that come up. And then it requires a flow chart.
we need to have like
Okay,
a
stop
personal
now.
spreadsheet.
Go watch this other episode and then come back.
oh no, but it's like Marvel Comics. How that was a big thing that
Yeah.
DC Comics didn't do. Marvel Comics had the little editor's notes that said, for more information, like go to read like X-Men 101. And like that's how you sell more comic books. So we
We'll have
can
a
sell more
spin-off,
podcasts.
We'll call it.
Somewhere-
We'll call it Noel's Notes, and
Noel
it'll be like a spin-off podcast. Yeah, where you
We should have
fill
like
in
a
the
little
blanks.
clicker for every time we reference a different movie. And then at the end, I think we all have to just really accept the fact that we did that. We
That's
confused
just
a
my
lot of
job on
people.
this show now. I'm taking notes every time somebody comes up
You have
with
like
a different
7
thing.
clickers. You've got like a bunch of little like almost like those bell buttons. What are they called? But when you go to a hotel, I don't think they do it anymore, but the dingers.
Right.
A
Yeah.
bunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
happening.
anyone on the chat, you guys can have a drink, play a drinking game every single time we talk
Go
about a
off
different
topic.
movie.
Yeah. Drink water though. or
Let
else
us
you'll
know.
die.
Every time we say Barbie, drink water, and every time we reference a different movie, have a shot.
I almost feel like Barbie has that element too, where it's like, look at all these different Barbies that we have and how they're related through history of Barbie, and then when they bring them back, it's a reference to some bygone era.
Yeah.
Everything
I mean,
was so deliberate in this movie. Every
Yes.
single thing that like she put in this movie, it was absolutely deliberate, and it absolutely has some sort of significance or history piece. It's my voice.
Oh no.
so we're sent on a quest, and there's no portal. She talks
The
about a
hero's
portal.
journey.
Yeah, she talks about a portal over and over again, which is great. There's been a tear in the fabric of time and space. You tore a portal open. And then she's like, "There's no actual portal. You just have to take a whole bunch of different Barbie-themed vehicles to get to Los Angeles," which is fun. Again, very Wizard of Ozzy as well. Like the painted backgrounds, some of the stuff even just looks like boards passing over the screen.
The
Very
pink
charming.
road.
Yeah, it feels like, again, like a stage play, and it's super pleasing visually, to me at least.
Yes, I
Um,
agree.
Was there a Barbie spaceship? That was my main question. I know I've seen her on
There was astronaut Barbie. I'm pretty sure there was an astronaut Barbie. Yeah.
Right. I remember the
They're
camper.
the 2 ones in the
I
sky.
remember the camper.
Yay, space! She says
Yay,
as she's
space.
driving by.
Absolutely iconic line. I think I say that pretty often. Like every time a NASA update comes up on my Instagram, I'm like, yay, space.
And Ken is secretly stowed away in the car, which
It's so small.
But he brought his rollerblades because he literally never goes anywhere without them.
Where does he keep them, Steven?
The thing that he says, what if there's beach? You'll need someone who's a professional in that.
They are going to Venice Beach. Like there's beach.
But then it turns out he doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't know how to swim. He tried to go in the water at the start of the movie. He bounced off the wave.
Yeah.
Oh, when Barbie makes that comment when they do get to Venice Beach and they're just kind of, and I think that was one of the first scenes you saw when pictures came out of the movie and it was just them in these neon outfits.
That was the first picture.
And Barbie starts making that comment about being like, I suddenly feel like very aware. And honestly, I've never had something feel so like hit so true and also just sit there and be like, damn.
It's
weird when you voice it. Like it's weird when you put words.
It's very concerning, but it's also a very well written joke. Like it's very funny. They just take the word self-conscious and find a way to extend it into
mine very much has an undertone of violence.
That's what I was gonna say. When Ken's like, and when she says like very much has an undertone of violence, it just like I'm sure it hit every woman very differently. Because yes, existing in the world does have an undertone of violence.
Yeah, you're suddenly so aware of everything that you chose to wear for a day and chose to like highlight. Yeah, it was I think the first scene for being in the world where you're just like, look how fun colors and you're on Venice Beach and everyone looks like they're having fun, and then her like slow realization of just like what she's feeling in that situation. And then they give us the construction workers where she's just like, oh good, we'll see it like a construction team, finally some strong women that we can talk to. And it's just all dudes. I'm like, Barbie Land is so different. It's so different.
I do like that the construction workers are horrible, disgusting men.
But then
they're an exaggeration.
But then at the end, they imply that they're transgendered, and the guys are like, "No, that's okay. That's fine." Like they're not complete assholes.
Well, like
there's a little bit of humanity in there.
Is that there's always more bark than bite, right? Like they're cat collars, but the line that got me was when Ken and Barbie keep getting arrested. Like they get arrested the first time because someone slaps her ass and she punches them, and then she's like, I think we should change clothes, and then they go and get like the cowboy outfits, and then she gets they stole them, so she gets arrested again, and the cops are like, I think like it's better when she has more clothes because like it leaves more to the imagination, like better looking with more clothes. You know what, sweetie, keep them. Like
there's literally there's no way to win there.
You honestly, can imagine more.
Yes. That scene killed me the most because of also just like when they're getting their little mugshots and it's like Barbie and then and Ken. Like it literally says and Ken on his little mugshot thing. And it's a consistent point through the whole story of him just being like, I'm Barbie and Ken. Like I'm nothing without Barbie, which I think they like really wrap up in a nice way. But yeah, I did think that little placard was really cute. Really
there fun. Is no just Ken.
Yeah.
That was another moment watching it this third time that I didn't put together because the Ken enough bit I kind of was stuck on. I was like, what? That's a weird way to like just make everything okay for Ken. But it was to her point being like, what if it's Barbie and also Ken exists as well, also as a separate person? And that sort of spawns the Ken enough
find stuff. You.
Yeah. When I first saw the movie, I was like, that's a weird cop-out, but it was me missing sort of a point that they were trying to make about everybody sort of being their own autonomous thing.
Yeah. Because she's saying it to herself just as much because it is Barbie and Ken. You're not stupid. Barbie and Ken. So when she's giving the speech to Ken, like she's referencing things that she said, like when Gloria and Sasha are coming into Barbie Land, she's like, and you'll get to see my house and all the stuff that I've bought. Like she's talking about her stuff, and then that speech at the end that she gives to Ken, she's saying like, you're not your stuff, you're not your girlfriend, you're not like, so she's seeing herself outside of her world in Barbie Land as well. And I think that's when they both split off and become autonomous, like their own characters, their own people. Like,
yeah, she doesn't even like Ken, and she keeps him as a boyfriend because it's Barbie and Ken, right? Where from the start you see that it's not something that she's like excited about. She's just kind of like, okay, you're here.
Yeah, they're kind of anchored to each other in that strange.
Yeah, because they're Barbie and Ken, stereotypical Barbie and stereotypical Ken.
I think if this movie wasn't told the way it was. If it was in the hands of some other director, they would have shipped them anyway. Even if the plot was the same, they would have still had them
Like a redemption
together
arc.
at the end. Yeah. I'm glad that's what none of this was ever about. It's like the reverse of a rom-com almost.
Barbie needs to end like in her space figuring her stuff out. I think that's like a key piece here.
Yeah. Which is one of the important like tones of this movie. That's why I think this movie just works to show to really anybody. Anybody can watch this and feel something even if they thought they couldn't get something out of it. I think it really surprised a lot of people. With
I think
that one guy in Tatiana's theater.
Yeah, who did not pick it up and was just kind of like, oh God, and
he's
another
not enough.
disgusting. I was like, I hope that girl is just like this is like a first date, and she's just like, I'm sussing him out. Like, I hope this isn't a long-term partner that she just then has to go home and be like, dude, what the hell? Or maybe they both bonded over the fact that they thought the monologue was like bad.
Yeah, maybe she's a
lot of
trad wife
people
and
don't
was
like the monologue.
Some
like
people say that
even feminists don't like the monologue.
Like it's simple. I've heard people say that the whole movie kind of simplifies the issue, but I think we kind of need it simplified because you see how absurd it is when it's simplified. It's a lot of people and kids, and yeah, kids are a big part of this, to see how silly it is and how it shouldn't be there, but also how pervasive it is here and how we live in a space that this just is. It's just there for all the population. We're not even going to say half the population. Everyone deals with this every single day. So I am not going to sit there and say that the Barbie movie had to be this complex feminist masterpiece teaching you all the like intricacies of like intersectional feminism, but it needed to do exactly what it did. So
yeah, it's feminism 101, but it's also a mass market
not everyone
movie
takes
made by
feminism
Mattel. That's exactly it, right? And there are plenty of people who, so I actually know a lot of people who weren't interested in this movie, didn't watch it, or watched it and didn't like it. And it's particular age groups of people and particular demographics that don't seem to like this. And people get hung up on, like, one of the comments that I had was somebody saying like, well, I don't know why we have to keep talking about it.
It's still here.
And it's just like, I can't really like
Barbie or the patriarchy, because
probably both.
It's probably, but yeah, I like the speech. Like, there's things about the speech that like don't work for me, but for the most part, like when she says, the part where like it clicked for me was when she says you have to like, what is it? You have to apologize for men's bad behavior, which is crazy. Like, that's the part where I was just like, yep. Or like, you have to be their mommy, but you can't remind them of their mommy. Like, these are all things that I've just like experienced where, yeah, I'm not going to go into detail about it. That's a different podcast.
Everybody take a drink.
My trauma.
No, I agree. I think the speech is very heavy-handed, and it is simplified, like you said, but like you also said, it definitely doesn't need to be overly worked and overly complex in order to get the point across. And that's what I like about the speech. That's one of the things that I think stands out as one of the best parts of the movie, because it feels ranty and it feels like she's just getting things off of her chest. It doesn't necessarily feel like she's poking you in the chest with it. It's just stuff that's built up inside of her.
Yeah, that's almost 40 years of repression.
Yeah, and we don't know a ton about this character at this point. We know enough to see that she is balling things up and going through a lot and having troubles at home with her daughter and potentially her husband, even though her husband just seems to be like a really sweet, nice guy who's just not on. He's off screen being kind of a sweet dummy or whatever, right? The opposite of
golden
Ken.
retriever, yeah.
Which also may cause some repressed feelings, right?
Exactly.
Like,
right,
like she couldn't go on the cruise because she couldn't get that she won, like the raffle that she won at Sasha's school, because she couldn't get enough days off, and her husband is allergic to the sun.
Hey, don't make fun of people who are allergic to the sun.
I know, but it's also like you're making concessions. You make concessions, and how many concessions do you make? All of us, like male, female, anything, doesn't matter. How many concessions do you make day to day? And like, how does that fall up? I think the simplified nature means that, like, I think everybody connected to a portion of that speech. Even if it wasn't all of it, you connect to a bit. And like, maybe that's like a stepping stone for you to go to like feminism, like 201. Or like, you know, advanced feminism. Like, it's those little steps, and it's just
or like at the very basic, just feel seen. Like there's a reason that this movie like did as well as it did, because people felt seen by this movie. Like it's a movie by women, for women, about women, a new idea, like concepts that just aren't like, I think Tatiana, the way that you said it was hearing it out loud. Like some of that stuff, like you know it and you've heard it, but like hearing it out loud in a movie, that it's just different. It's just a different feeling.
Mm-hmm. I think that also, like, as you know, that guy who sighed in your theater at this speech, like that kind of hostility, in my opinion, is just somebody who's seeing and hearing these things either for the first time, or it's causing some sort of serious introspection within himself, where he is recognizing his own bad behavior within the speech and having a negative reaction to it. Right? I can say, like, listening to that speech, there are moments in there where I'm like, oof, yeah, oh, geez, yeah. Which is a good thing, because it allows you to examine something that is being presented in a way that is not hostile, but seeming to be coming from somebody who's exhausted, which is pretty powerful.
And I think that's what they were trying to do, is not do like a whole like wagging finger, like you're the bad one here. Like that's not what Greta Gerwig was trying to get across here. I think she was just trying to make it inclusive to as many people as possible, to be like, hey, this is just it. This is like, if people want to do that whole, like, you know, I'm not a sexist, I have a mother, daughter, sister, like that's also
the
for
speech
you to
that,
listen to. Like
speech
you
that
have a
Will
mother,
Ferrell
daughter,
gave.
sister.
Yes, where he's like when Barbie is in the Mattel headquarters and she's like, can I at least speak to the woman in charge? And it's like, that would be me.
How
and
dare
then your
you.
COO, your CFO, and it's all, and it's like,
ding.
does any woman work here? I resent that. He's like, I'm the son of a mother. I'm
the mother of a son.
Right?
I'm the nephew of a woman aunt.
They exaggerated that in such a perfect way for you to just, again, see that absurdity of like every speech that's been given by someone being like, I can't be a sexist, I respect my mom. And you're like, okay, if your mom decided to run for your position, would you vote for her? No.
Yeah, and then there's the whole like, well, there was one woman, like whenever like I have a hockey podcast, and often when we're talking about women in the big four sports, people will always bring up the one woman who played as a goaltender for like a minute. This one time. And it's just like we had one female CEO in the 80s and then another one at some other time.
Some of my best friends are Jewish.
Like it's just, what does that tell us? That tells us nothing.
No, he got his speeches mixed up in his head. He accidentally went reflexively into the racism speech.
So funny. He does such a good job. Like I really did love Will Ferrell. I think they cast everyone in this movie so perfectly. I'm so happy with everyone that was in it and like the little bits that they did.
Yeah. There's like a fan headcanon that he goes to his job at Mattel and then goes home and then he's the dad from the Lego movie.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It kind of works. They're like similar characters, right?
Yeah. At first when I heard that, I was like, that doesn't really work, because the guy in the other movie is like kind of an asshole, mean jerk. And this guy is like, he is an asshole, mean jerk who's in charge of Mattel, but he says, you know, like, I really want this to succeed, and this is not what Mattel stands for. You know, like when he's making I want to stand up for little girls everywhere in the least creepy way possible.
I didn't get into this business for a bottom line. I got into this business for little girls' dreams in the least creepy way possible.
Yeah. And but then watching it again, at the end of the movie, he still has that sort of like childish, controlling attitude when he's like, well, Barbie's in love with Ken. And she's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, like he gets like,
you just have to do it.
Yeah, what do you mean?
When he tells President Barbie, call me mother, and Issa Rae's like, I'm not doing
that.
I won't do that. I love her as President Barbie. I think she does such a fantastic job. Yes, I'm here. Like she's so good in every scene.
She's got such an incredible smile and presence. Like all the Barbies are cast so wonderfully. Like you said, like the casting in this movie is pretty incredible. But like Hari Nef being in it pissed off a whole bunch of conservative people.
Oh God, yeah.
But like, so
I don't think there's anything we can do that won't piss off a whole bunch of conservative people.
there's so many things about this movie that will piss off conservative people. That
Just
Yeah.
make
course-
every
of course
character
that
in
one's
this
gonna
movie
stick out.
Donald Trump, and the conservatives will love it.
Yeah, it would be called
Can you
Bumpy.
imagine? Oh,
I wish they could get radicalized by something like this.
Right?
Right.
Just start wearing pink everywhere.
there
and
was a
like,
good portion of time where that was literally such a main color you saw on people. Like,
yes.
you're right. Marketing did such an incredible job. Like, their marketing team did so well because it just like pink resurged in such a strong, powerful way where like it was like office outfits where you would just see people in like insane like pink combinations and you're like, yes, we can be feminine. Not that like personally in my job I don't feel like that's something I really have to struggle with in like looking less feminine, but like it just felt nice to see people in colors, specifically pink, because I think a lot of us kind of reject it after a period of time. I only reject it because I think it doesn't work with my skin tone. So
I think you look lovely with that background.
I honestly think it's the glitter. I do know I look great in glitter, so
Yes, they do have the line of shoes.
yeah.
Like Miniso had like a whole bunch of Barbie branded stuff. Like there's Barbie pill cases and Barbie. Like I have a whole bunch of Barbie stuff. I reclaimed pink at one point in my life, and I because I didn't like it for so long because it was too girly, and I'm not like the other girls. But then pink is a nice color.
Own it. Own the color.
It's not gendered.
Zara
don't
did
own
like
a lot
whole
of-
Barbie line.
I don't own a lot of colorful clothes, but the colorful clothes that I do incorporate pink in some way. I like pink.
You're wearing the shit out of that shirt, I gotta say. It looks really good on you.
This one?
Yeah.
I will say I do
I like
love
how you just went like, yeah.
Yeah.
I love businessmen that incorporate pink into like a suit outfit. Like I do. I love like a pink sock or like a pink detail sock or like a pink detail tie or collared shirt. I'm into it. I'm
Pink
here
tie
for it.
and pink pocket square. I see
Yeah.
all the time at the offices. I work on Bay Street.
Ooh,
Ew.
we were close to each other.
Look at that.
We
The
can talk
sisterhood.
offline. That's for another podcast.
Oh, but speaking of talking to other women, one of the cool things that was happening in these theaters, though, like everyone was wearing pink, but everyone was saying "Hi, Barbie" to each other. Like all of these women just being like "Hi, Barbie," and like that sense of community isn't really a thing that you get. Like, when was the last time that you like went to a movie or went to a thing in Toronto with a whole bunch of strangers and had this like actual like communal feeling with them of
Rob
like
Zombie
a camaraderie? Okay,
Very different vibe.
like maybe at a convention but like at a general movie, right? Like,
I think Harry Potter. Like, I don't think Harry Potter movies when I was younger. That was the only time you got that vibe.
I think
that Fast and Furious experience I mentioned earlier. It's very
Star
much
Wars Revenge of the Sith was the last time that I had like the whole movie theater was on the same side team. But we also went to a midnight. We stayed in line for hours.
Yeah.
And you got to know all these strangers in line like for hours and hours beforehand, and it was one of the most
and
fun
for this one, it was
experiences
just
I've ever
like
had.
you were in the bathroom and somebody would just be like, "Hi, Barbie."
Yeah, this one was awesome. People were just very kind to each other. Like everyone was very friendly. You get into random conversations. Like it just seemed like a very fun space to be in. Like it just everyone
People
felt
lining
nice.
up.
People cheered. People like cried. You also could cry in the theater and not feel like that was weird.
Oh man, I still have trouble with that sometimes.
I'll
Crying
cry
in the theater.
I don't care.
Oh, I
I think
cried.
that's
I need to
acceptable.
start letting it go. It's because
Yeah.
I go to see movies with my friends who I'm like, I can't cry in front of this guy. I don't think he's ever cried in his
If you
life.
can't cry in front of your friends, who can you cry in front of?
It's
Well, Ken is a liberated man and knows that crying isn't weak.
That's true. Yeah.
He cries against Barbie's breast at one point. He's just like, "Oh, woe is me." Whether it's a real cry or not, we don't know.
I think Ken wanted a mom more than a girlfriend. Is the vibe that I got.
I think Ken was given the instructions that he loved Barbie, and Barbie gave him
Yep.
meaning, and then that's what he went with, and that's tough.
Yeah. He didn't know what he wanted outside of her.
Well,
He
his
had no
job was
identity.
beach, and we could agree
His
that's
job
not
was
a real
beach.
job.
No autonomy.
Like a DJ.
Like,
No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
that's funny.
That's my own personal feelings about some people I know.
I mean, the one who was the doctor was the DJ in this, so
Dr.
Right.
DJ.
Yeah, Dr. DJ.
Dr. DJ.
I feel like that works though.
You're a doctor.
Yeah, a doctor of beats.
A beat doctor, yeah. All right. So we have gotten into the real world. Barbie's on a mission to find Barbie's on a mission to find her other half, the person who's been playing with her in real life, or at least connecting emotionally with her in real life. She believes she does sort of like this like meditation sequence where she tries to connect mentally with the person's emotions, and she gets a bunch of flashes of this little girl, and she believes that she knows who she's looking for now and where to go. But she's crossed some wires because she's actually seeing the vision of the child's mom. So she does find her at school, and this is happening. We already talked about the Ken montage of him, seeing the immaculate beauty of the patriarchy in action. But she's at the school, and she finds, I forget the character's name.
Sasha,
the daughter of the mom who works for Mattel. Gloria. Sorry, this is not because it's a Barbie movie. It's because I just don't remember any names in any movie. But Barbie's easy to remember.
I only know their actress names, so like I'm good for you.
I've just seen this movie a lot.
Right, before we push to when she sees Sasha, though, like when she's doing that meditation, she looks around and she just sees people. She sees life. She sees people happy, sad, like in a fight. Like I think that was such a beautiful scene of just her getting to view like a non-perfect world. Like it isn't Barbie Land. It isn't.
This is one of the moments that makes me like tear up is when she turns to that elderly woman and says, "You're beautiful," and she's like,
and she means it. Like you feel it like deep down. Like you're a person that's lived a whole life, and like you have, I don't know. It was very. I think that was a very touching.
It's also
the scene.
Yeah, the exchange of the smiles is like super beautiful as well.
Yeah. That lady's also a really famous costume designer.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Something I got out of this sequence too is I didn't notice that the Billie Eilish "What Was I Made For" is actually it's a like there's stings.
It's a recurring
of it
theme through it.
Yeah. And I didn't notice that. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. That's exactly the exact term. Both of the things that you guys said were what I was looking for, and Donald Trump is now. But the only reason that I noticed it is because when this movie came out, that song hadn't really permeated the zeitgeist yet. And since now I've heard it a billion times, every time there was a sting, I was like, oh shit. And I think this movie is like, you got to watch it a few times, I think it's one of those things, if you're a Barbie fan or not.
Catch those nuances.
Exactly. I will probably, the next time I watch it, I'll probably catch some new stuff.
The fact that the starting, like the starting chords or whatever of the "What Was I Made For" is just
opening
constantly through. Yeah, the opening bars are just there. Anytime she is kind of getting a little bit more human, and it just keeps being that recurring piece. So it was beautiful. And I think the first time I watched it, I didn't notice it. And then I loved that song. And I just think I was watching interviews with Billie Eilish talking about that song, and Greta Gerwig talking about Billie Eilish about that song. And that's what they were saying. So the second time I watched it, I actually got to hear every time it comes in. And I think they just do a fantastic job. Every time that song plays at the end, which we'll get to, where she has that scene, I sob. I can't help it. I just feel it. I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that song has different names depending on what version of it is playing. So that one, it's Billy on the Bench is what they referred to it as when it's playing when she's at the bus stop. And like I think
the name of the piece of music when you watch the credit roll at the end.
Maybe.
Or in just
I noticed when I was watching
album.
when I was watching the credits at the end, I noticed that the pieces of music were all there.
Yes, because Mark Ronson's the original music for it was, which I love, the original soundtrack for it. Beyond that, it's so good. But that won the Oscar, right? The song.
What Was I Made For? I think so. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So
just
and then
it.
That bench scene.
She's gonna be Billy Egot soon.
Yeah, seriously.
Sorry.
That bench scene, they wanted to cut it, but Greta Gerwig said, without that scene on the bench, this movie doesn't make any sense. And kept
she pushed for it. She deserved to push for it. She made $1 billion. So
yeah,
she gets her scene.
Yeah, definitely a wise choice because I would argue that is probably one of the most powerful moments in the movie. And it introduces you to the idea that Barbie is seeing what it means to be human from a different perspective, which is
and
really
very early on
touching.
in her story. Yeah.
Which is that it's imperfect, right? Like it's imperfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get to see, people laughing, people having a good time in the park, a man contemplating suicide, I think, and then just like an arguing couple, and then she even starts to
real
hear
trees,
the trees and the sounds of insects and birds and the wind and all this stuff, and it's really, again, the sound design of this movie just kept blowing me away. Like from the moment they touch the monolith that is Barbie at the beginning, and there's like this sound. I was wearing headphones when I was watching it, and I was just like, this is brilliant. This is amazing.
Even the goofy little stuff, like there's that scene where he's playing the keyboard, he's playing that beat on the keyboard when Barbie first comes back, and he throws the keyboard and it goes like it makes that cartoon sound. Like just little details like that in the sound design.
All the sound design in Barbie Land is just impeccably great
because it's like it's a live living cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes. One of my favorite things in the movie is Kingsley Benadir's dance when he's playing the Casio, and he's just kind of like standing there like doing this like stupid little bop. There in the IMAX showing of it, they had an extended dance scene for that, and like it just got even like crazier. So they just like took a clip of it, but it's so good. I mean, all the Kens are so funny.
It looks like they all had so much fun making this, and I feel like that really shows. Like it just feels like everyone had a fun time being in it.
It's like the opposite of being in a Stanley Kubrick film.
Right.
Do you want your character like beat down to nothing and then brought back up my way? Yeah.
Should have had a Shelley Duvall cameo.
I'm trauma Barbie? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But yes, we go to the school.
Stanley Kubrick induced trauma Barbie. Yeah, so she meets up with Sasha, and Sasha pulls a mean girl and
she's
fucking tears into her. This was
sad.
This was all of Noel's internal thoughts. This is when I see this, I'm like, this is Noel right here.
Sasha?
Yeah.
She calls her a fascist. She calls her a fascist, and then when she's crying on the bench about it, she's like, I don't control the
railways.
The railways, yeah.
Or the flow of commerce. It destroyed me.
And her makeup is so tragically smeared down her cheeks, and it's just so
I'm
funny.
not a fascist.
Yeah. My favorite part of that speech there is when at the end of it, she's like, well, will you excuse me?
Yeah,
and she's still so polite and like so like trying to be poised as she's like about
she can't cry there, like rebut them there. She's like, I have to go find a private place.
And then she kind of like prances off like daintily, but as soon as she feels like she's far enough away, she just sprints, like she breaks into a full sprint.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This is when Ken is at the library getting books about horses and patriarchy
and war. Yeah.
That's all you
but
need to know.
This is like I don't know if this is done on purpose, but Sasha is the name of one of the brats, and the four girls at the table are the same like ethnicities, we'll say, as the main four Bratz dolls.
That's got to be deliberate for sure.
And they're acting bratty.
I wouldn't be surprised if those characters were all the names of the other Brat dolls, and they just are uncredited because they didn't want to get into a sticky situation. We're gonna make the Brats.
Although what she's saying, like, we didn't play with Barbies, it was a last resort, and then one of the girls says, I like Barbie. I do wonder, like, I played with Barbies, but like I don't have that many female friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really ask people if they play with Barbies, but like I'm an eternal child and I literally have a wall of dolls over there.
Right.
So like I don't understand a world where you wouldn't play with Barbie or cars or Batmans or like, but I'm just like a toyetic person.
Yeah. I grew up with a brother, so we had a medley of toys and we both played with them interchangeably. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah, that's how my house was too. I had a sister, and I played with Barbies and I played with Batman and Ninja Turtles, and they sometimes all played together. Sometimes Dick Tracy would show up and be like, "Man,
also,
see,
it's so fun
going downtown, Barbie."
It's so fun to have Batman in a Barbie dream house. Like he fits right in there. You can take him places.
Around here.
Wait, hold on a sec. One of the original Bratz Barbies names was Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just talked about that. Yeah.
Was Sasha Chloe?
Oh
No.
my god.
Sorry, there's a Bratz movie. I'm gonna just say
Chloe
it's not
Jade.
good.
Chloe, Jade, Yasmin, and Sasha.
Oh, Jade, that's it. Yeah.
I don't think the other characters' names are mentioned. We would have to check the credits, I think.
You know,
To see
Gloria's name is never mentioned in the movie. You see
I
it
was
in Scrabble
wondering
on the
about
back
that.
when she's playing with Weird Barbie as a child,
Uh-huh.
but you don't hear her name
Through the whole thing?
through the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And in the original subtitling on the original download, they never said Gloria and then the words. It said Sasha's mom.
Right.
And only on recent ones have I seen that it says Gloria.
America Ferrera, I will say, as a character through the whole movie, was a person who dressed very feminine. It was nice to see. She had like a pink blazer. She had a very fun like floral top and jeans. She even going to work, she like looked very feminine and fun. I liked it.
That's all she wanted was a flattering top and to feel good about herself.
Yes. Honestly, that was the most relatable thing. Like, just like get through the day feeling kind of good about myself.
That's it. No one yell at me.
I wonder.
I don't want to feel like I have the urge to cry at any point in my day.
I wonder if the reason that her name was not mentioned in the movie was just for the audience to be able to insert themselves into that character a little bit more easily without having, a name attached to it. You can just place yourself in there. I didn't even notice the name wasn't mentioned, but I guess it's because people are just referring to her as mom the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
I'm looking
mommy.
through the credits and those other characters aren't even credited.
Yeah, I think my theory. Oh, should I do it? Confirming that Sasha was a Bratz doll. My theory is that they probably did originally have all three of those other characters named after the Bratz dolls, and then they realized that it was probably going to cause some sort of kerfuffle, so they decided not to.
Sasha looks over and goes, "But Chloe, you can't talk like that."
Are Bratz dolls made by like Hasbro or something? Like,
Okay.
oh god, here we go.
Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
That's another project. Bratz dolls are made by a company called MGA. So the lead designer of Bratz dolls actually designed Bratz while he was working as a product designer at Mattel. He never submitted it. But when you sign a contract with any of these companies, anything that you come up with while you're employed by this company belongs to Mattel. So when he took Bratz to MGA, and they were super popular, there was this lawsuit, and Mattel initially won that lawsuit. So Bratz went out of production for a while, and then there was another lawsuit, and then Bratz was given back their ability to create these dolls. So Bratz are back, but like Mattel effectively killed Bratz, but it's because they wanted to kill Bratz because they were doing really well, because Barbie was boring and Bratz was cool and fashionable and
also kind of like rebelling against your parents a bit too, because you're gonna wear the fun outfit to school.
Yeah,
and they had nose rings and bell bottoms. Yeah.
Which is like a really important thing that Barbie didn't have at that time, right? And the body proportions were more cartoony. MGA still makes dolls, so they still make Bratz, but they do make another line of dolls, and I have a whole bunch of them over there. But
well, you know who approves of that? Another doll, Chucky.
What do we think Chucky thinks about Barbie?
I'm sure he's meant Barbie.
I don't think I can say what he wants to, what he thinks about Barbie.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Have you guys done a Chucky podcast yet?
Yes, they have.
Oh,
we've done 5 of them.
Well, I'm surprised I haven't been part of one. I do love it.
The last one we did was the Seed of Chucky. Yeah.
Oh, such a good one. Seed of Chucky makes me laugh every time I watch it. That little kid is the most awkward, trying to be like, oh, I love him. I love him so much.
Well, we got more Chuckies coming up.
We got 2 more Chuckies to do.
I have a Bratz doll. She's just in the back.
She's hidden.
She looks very 2000s. She's in a prom dress.
It's so 2000.
I'm jealous of the amount of action figures you're allowed to have on display.
Oh, you don't even know.
I don't.
There's more
like
where that
in
came from.
I can tell by the time every time you like look, you're like, there's Batman's over here,
Yeah.
and there's
Robin's
Bratz
over here.
dolls over there. Bratz to the left of me, Barbie's
Left
to the
and
right.
wrong.
Here I am.
So this is the moment where Barbie is taken to Mattel.
Yes. To be put in the box.
The moment where she literally meets her makers. And it's funny. It's funny. What's Ken doing? Oh, Ken is retreating back to Barbie Land with the
He just
knowledge of the
bounces
patriarchy
with his
in his
knowledge.
mind.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that?
Ding, ding, ding,
Oh, it's
ding,
the Batman's
ding,
motorcycle.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's
ding.
the drifter's
Something's
motorcycle.
in my ass.
Yes.
It's
Oh.
okay to eat fish. Anyway.
Yeah, so this moment we get to see the entirety of Mattel, and we get to see
Yes.
Barbie's interaction with Will Ferrell for the first time, which is charming and funny. But we also get a giant box in which they ask her to step back inside of. And I really like this moment because I think anybody who grew up in the era of larger toys, Toy Story, some Small Soldiers, just
What's the
buying
what's that
toys.
extreme hum? Are you hearing that?
Yeah, it sounds like a vacuum or something.
Okay, it might be me as well. It's garbage trucks. I can't believe you can hear it. It's outside.
Okay. It's all good.
But yeah, the big box, everybody remembers the twist ties, action figures. I don't think they use those anymore because I think they're like dangerous for birds or some shit.
They're not twist ties, but they do use, like, I'm not going to open this box, but they're behind here and they're like taped down.
Yeah.
And like there's also like plastic pegs that like hold her in. So it's still the same idea, but there's a lot more holding her in there now.
Right.
But a very Proustian flashback. And then Will Ferrell says, "Remember Proust, Barbie? That did not sell."
Yeah.
Also a scary scene, like when they're twisting it, like it really kind of freaked me out. I was like, don't go in there, Barbie.
And they're like slowly closing in on her arms. Yeah, like shackles. And
When you were talking
Yes.
about the sense of community at the theater earlier, I wanted to mention the big Barbie boxes that you could go get your picture taken in. They didn't have the twist ties.
they didn't have the shackles.
They didn't have the shackles.
Oh my god!
And I was like, can't get my picture taken in that. It's not accurate enough.
It's not screen accurate. But I do like that, they're closing in on her wrists, and it's another feeling of tension and fear that is real. She's almost willing to be trapped inside of a box rather than have to deal with her human emotions that she's experiencing.
What do we think would happen if she went into the box?
She would just live in the box forever, I guess. She would be back in her original home.
If she went back into the box, she would have gone back to Barbie Land, but she wouldn't have had Sasha and Gloria with her. So patriarchy would have taken over.
And she wouldn't have met up with the creator of Barbie in her little ghost room. Ruth, yeah.
Perlman.
There's a funny line.
It's canon. He's like, yeah, we have the ghost in there.
I was gonna say there's a funny line at the end, yeah, where Will Ferrell's like, her ghost occupies an office on the 17th floor or something crazy. Like, you're like, okay. So ghosts exist in this universe as well.
Have we gotten to Ruth sitting at the kitchen table?
It's right after
Where we're
this. She says, like, can I go to the bathroom if I'm gonna be like locked in here forever? I want to make sure
my hair is
good,
perfect.
yeah.
I'm surprised they let her go to the, like, when he's like, I guess you really
They
have
were bumbling idiots. I think we can agree. They would have been like, absolutely.
Not that she doesn't eat or drink or have to use the washroom or have any kind of human anatomy. But again, she was just going there to fix her hair.
Do her hair, yeah.
Yeah. So she escapes, and we get that fun choreographed sort of dance sequence of her running through the bullpen. Will Ferrell, literally running up to her and then screaming and running in the other direction.
It's like the Scooby-Doo, like through the doors.
It is, yeah.
Like
very much so.
It literally is the song that's like Scooby Dooby Doo. Like that's what it feels like is happening when they're running through all the crazy.
Oh yeah, it's the Barbie, you're so fun, you're so fun.
Yeah, go Barbie. And then she meets Ruth for the first time, and everything kind of calms down for a moment. It's sort of an extension of the scene on the park bench. And we learn a little bit more about Barbie, but we don't learn who this woman is until the very end. But
As soon as
feel
she
like
said she was Ruth, I was like, it's Ruth Handler. Like as soon as she was at the table, and she has little patterns with gingham cloth. So she's got little Barbie clothing patterns.
oh, interesting. Well, she's got a book of like drawings and stuff too that look like they're clothing designs for almost like the paper dolls and stuff.
Yeah, and like the little actual patterns for the dresses.
Mm-hmm. So your reaction to her saying her name at the end was like when the portal opens in Endgame. You're like, ah! You're on your left or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Nightwing's just gonna do the podcast with us.
That's great. Nightwing's great. I want to just give you guys a heads up though. It is 10:30.
Oh shit.
So we gotta sprint to the end. I mean, yeah, she talks with Ruth and then she meets up with Gloria and Sasha, and they decide that they're gonna take her to Barbie Land. And they go to Barbie Land.
One of my favorite moments from around this part is like, Will Ferrell's like, they cannot go back there with them. Who knows what's going to happen? All kinds of crazy stuff. Your mind won't even be able to comprehend. You won't even be able to come up with it. And one guy's like, what, like a podcast of two wise young trees? And I thought that was
or a choir of
young dads,
like 10,000 single dads, like singing these.
Just coming up with the dumbest shit off the top of their domes.
But then what comes up is the Mojo Dojo Casa House, which is the dumbest shit.
And they're selling like hotcakes. Will Ferrell's not happy about it. He didn't sign up for the bottom line.
I just love when they say it, and like I think Gloria and Sasha are like, you don't need to say casa and house.
Yeah.
And just don't.
Horses are just man extenders. It's another funny little.
And then they come back to find that the Mojo Dojo Casa House has been erected, and everything that you can kind of attach to toxic masculinity is littering the landscape, and it's uncomfortable and it makes me feel icky and gross.
Physics Barbie in a maid outfit. It made me very sad for her.
Yeah, who wants some snacks? So the thing that made me pop is the pull-up bar that's there. Because when you invite a man into your house, the first thing he's going to do is find a doorway and pull a freaking pull-up bar there.
Listen, I almost did it and I didn't do it.
I've got a pull-up bar on every doorway in my home.
There is a pull-up bar in
your home,
in my home, in the
There
doorway.
is one in my home, but my partner occasionally uses, like, we have stairs downstairs because we're above a store. He will pull up on like the ledge there, and I'm like, what's happening? What are we doing?
I don't actually have any pull-up bars.
But that made me laugh so much because yes, like go into like it's like the camping chair in the house, like and the pull-up bar. Yeah. And like the throw pillows, and just like the way that the closet is just like shit's just thrown in it, whereas like Barbie's was like perfectly laid out. Like
the one exception, I lived in a house with many men, but they were all either gay or queer adjacent, so there was no pull-up bars. There was an exercise bike though.
I have an exercise bike too, but that one's mine.
So they return to find Barbie Land in chaos, and the Kens have taken over, and they quickly go into a mode of retreat, and Sasha and Gloria decide that they're going to leave Barbie to this new terror that has been unlocked, but Barbie is retreating to Weird Barbie's home with all of the other sort of strange Barbies that live there, I guess. But when you're first introduced to Weird Barbie, she has all these assistants that are helping pull down the maps and everything. I'm like, who the fuck are these people? Who are these Barbies that are living up here with her? And then you learn they're also weird. They're weird canceled Barbies that no one wants to talk to.
The only one that doesn't get mentioned, actually there's two, but one of them is Teen Talk Barbie, the one with like the hat. She's got like that very 90s Blossom look. She was controversial because she was like, you could pull the little string or whatever and have her talk. And one of the things that she said was, math is hard.
Oh, God.
Which I think is what the Simpsons were making fun of.
Yeah,
like
that
Malibu
must be what the
Stacy.
Simpsons is
Let's
based
all
off
forget
of.
our troubles with a big bowl of strawberry ice cream. That's the kind of stuff that she said.
Math is hard.
Math is hard.
You know what? Math is hard. Okay.
Also, like during the first meeting when they discover that Barbie's escaped, they mentioned that this has happened before with the Skipper doll. They're like Skipper in Fort Lauderdale or whatever. She got loose.
They tried to kidnap some kids.
Key West.
Yeah,
she was so Skipper's line is called Babysitter Inc. Like that's her shtick is being a babysitter.
Oh, so that's why she was trying to kidnap children.
Yeah. And at the end credits, when they have all of those like Barbies, like those are real Barbies as well. So
yeah, I mean, it's been around for so long. I would be baffled if they had ran out of options for weird Barbies that have existed over the course.
Apparently,
of
there were
60 years
so many, and they were like they just had like a treasure trove to pick from. It's like in the Harley Quinn animated show, like they don't create new characters; they just go into the depths of DC and pull whatever.
It's great, yeah. Like if you've ever played like the Arkham games, when you're getting all the trophies and discoverables and stuff, it's just like hundreds and hundreds of references to random Arkham villains and stuff. It's so interesting because you're like, who the fuck is the toy maker or whatever, right? Like probably a bad example, but there's lots of other weird ones. So they leave. And Alan has stowed away in their car this time instead of Ken, because Alan just wants to get the fuck out of there, because Alan is the only normal man who lives in Barbie Land.
To like sit on another leather couch, like that line,
it's gonna kill me. Yeah.
And then he takes out at least 10 men with his fists.
Yes.
Yeah. I like how he's like, they're like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Alan. I'm Ken's buddy. All his clothes fit me. He just starts punching
mid-punch says it. Yeah, like he says it in mid-punch. It's so good. Also,
we assume all those guys putting up the wall are Ken's. Also,
I had that exact
the fact that he did say once they figure out the wall can be built like horizontally, and not just up, killed me. And they like pan to the wall, and it's just like at like 3,000 bricks upwards.
Yeah. It's also funny because like one of them is digging a hole, a bunch of them are watching, and one of them is on top. It's just like, okay.
It's like, how many Kens does it take to build a wall? And you're like, too many. Like it's
I love how dumb they are.
That's the one-liner.
And so he beats the shit out of all of them, and they get back in the car and drive back because they realize that they can't leave Barbie Land to be overwhelmed by Ken and turned into Kendom Land. Yeah.
The land of the free and the men. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's too much dumb.
The free and the Ken.
And so they go back to Weird Barbie's house. They inject Barbie with some confidence and pull her out of her funk. And together they start the unbrainwashing phase, which is another one of the good there's so many good montages in this movie, but I think this one is probably the top. Maybe the opening
is my favorite part of the whole movie.
It's
a really good movie. Yeah.
The pacing of it, I think, was really well done. Like it built up so quickly where it was just like one, and each one was just something that you could relate to. Where you're just like, holy crap. Just the Godfather.
Do you want me to start it over and I'll talk over it the whole time?
Yeah.
I don't understand numbers. Like I think she's on the laptop being like,
I don't know how to use Photoshop.
Yeah. I don't know when to use the select tool. Yeah. And like, I just have all my money in a savings account.
Yeah.
In order for you to use that, if you want to use the select tool, you have to use the layer that you're trying to select. Here, let me show you. And he like reaches around her on both sides.
So funny. Or like trying to play sports. They're like trying to play any sport, and it's like golf, tennis. Like doesn't matter. He's just there being like, ooh.
Here, let me show you archery. Like you cannot do 2-person archery like that. It doesn't work.
My favorite one is the no one will ever like me and I'm not pretty, and then he
the glasses
off of her, and like that happened in that's happened in She's All That, but that happened in Ugly Betty, which is like such a
also America Ferrera.
There. Exactly, but like that's the thing. And like movies have been making fun of this trope for a little while. Wonder Woman had the thing where the best Chris in Hollywood was like, just put some glasses on Wonder Woman, and the assistant is like, oh, a pair of glasses, and she's suddenly not going to be the most beautiful woman you've ever seen.
But you also think about Clark Kent. Like Clark Kent literally only wears glasses, and he's Clark Kent versus Superman. Like he's not masking much else. So like the glasses trope is such a fun. But yeah, that one was so funny and so simplistic, and like what it was. It was very good.
we also get to see that Alan, though he is the normalest man in all of Barbie Land, is also kind of an idiot when he's trying to like hop that fence. And they're like, Alan, just go around.
But he has the pink jumpsuit too, and it's
He's
so
Team
nice.
Barbie. He's so Team Barbie from the very start.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they unleash their master plan, which is to turn all the Kens against one another by not paying attention to their serenade. Yeah. Do you mind if I play it for you for 4.5 minutes while I stare uncomfortably into your eyes?
I love it. I love it so much. It made me so happy.
Yeah. This is how I feel about musicians wholeheartedly, is I am made so uncomfortable when somebody is playing a song specifically to you. And Tat, you already gave your example of this happening to you, that it ruined a specific
That's one of many
musician.
So that's the most impactful one. Who's had a dude randomly start playing Wonderwall in like a hostel room?
I've had
thank you.
I was at a club that no longer okay, you go first. I think
the guy in the hallway at school who would just play Wonderwall like constantly, or like the daughters be good to your whatever that one was. He played it all the time.
Yeah.
It happened to me once at a club called Zipper, which no longer exists anymore.
I know Zippers.
Zippers, yeah.
On college and church, right?
Yeah, you know how it had that giant piano that had like a bar that went around it? Me and my friend were there, and we stood at the end of the piano, and the piano player started playing, and then he just started staring at me the entire time. And I turned to my friend, I'm like, I think he's singing to me. And then my friend was like,
flattered? Like, I don't think there's many people that feel flattered.
I couldn't confirm it at first, and then my friend was like, Steve, you're not the most desirable man on the fucking planet. Get over yourself. And I was like, okay, true, yeah. And then the man was like, this is for you, and he pointed at me. He pointed at me, and I was uncomfortable, and I was like, do I have to stay? But out of this weird sense of like, I don't know, I didn't want to like upset him, so I stayed for the whole song.
Oh, Steven, did you just voice what everybody feels when
yes,
things like this happen to them?
It happened to me. It was very uncomfortable.
No one's ever serenaded me, but
you
that's
don't
because...
want to.
No. Sorry. Like the one part of America Ferrera speech that really didn't get to me was the like women twisting themselves into knots so that people will like them. And I'm like, I never try to get people to like me. That is that's literally not a priority.
My highest point of anxiety. I've like actually talked to people about this. I'm like, so you're not constantly concerned about like upsetting people in your space, like strangers on the street, people in your home, and they're just like, no. I'm like, oh. That must be nice. Like you must actually walk to the subway station and like have a nice time. Like I don't know.
Okay, so the anxiety of living is different. Like I have that. Like, am I going to be attacked for wearing headphones? I don't know. It's dark out.
I just mean being in somebody's space. Like, oh gosh, like I'm too close to you. I'm so sorry. I'm almost bad. Yeah, I don't.
I play this game on
that
the
one hit me
subway
hard.
called "Who's Going to Get Out of My Way." And it's because I've noticed that because I'm of small stature, like, and like little, that men will just like ram right into me. Like if they need to, like they won't move. They'll expect me to move out of the way. So I played this game and women will move out of the way and I play chicken. So I put my shoulder into a lot of like men's chest, like shoulder tackle, because I won't move and they have to move and they don't want to. So there's a lot of like bam happening, but I have like a really low like body center of gravity. Exactly. So I just like literally like shoulder check people all the time.
There's a lot of guys out there with bruised ribs. just shouldering.
So yeah, Tatiana, that's a game I play.
I think I should start just being like, I can't. I feel my heart beating. I'm like, no, that won't work.
I try to make myself as small as possible.
Yeah, when I'm like, public. Don't notice me.
I'm like, or like if a guy is man spreading, like I will sit beside him and I'll take my backpack and drop it on his leg. And then he'll usually like move.
So there's a bravery here that some people have and some people don't. I'm just trying to get through the subway without being stabbed. So
I'm gonna get stabbed one of these days. Like I pushed someone off. Okay, no.
That's another podcast.
It's gonna happen after someone tries to serenade you and you throat punch them off the fucking subway platform.
That scene was so good because they pushed it so much longer than it needed to be. Like they brought you to that discomfort space where they were like, "We're here, we're here, we're still here."
And how long do I have to commit to this to make it so that you don't get uncomfortable?
And when it
They did
opens
it
to
so
all
well.
of the Kens on the beach, because it's just Ryan Gosling Ken, and then you see that they all have their own little like fires, and the drums.
That's the Ken that I want to be with. The drummer.
I think you should be the cello Ken or like the triangle Ken.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like a triangle and a cello. So the plan works. They turn all the Kens against each other by ignoring their serenading and moving. All they do is move from one Ken to the other right in front of them, and it still tricks them because they're
Look
that
at their
fucking
giant
stupid.
fake phone.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me for a moment. Who are you texting?
Did
Ken?
you write this song? Yeah, I did.
They're all playing the same song. And then the Kens decide that they're going to go to war. Yeah. And it's the best. This is the best part of the movie for me, but I mean, it's just so funny and well choreographed and so silly. Like, instead of filming it in slow motion, they just act in slow motion like a stage play. It's so funny.
It's got to be the most non-violent war I think I've ever seen. There's noogies. At one point, Ken simply opens his shirt to show his pecs, and a guy goes flying.
Yeah.
However, the businessmen from Mattel do show up, and one of them gets shot
with an arrow. He's like, "Is there real weapons?"
After.
He gets injured. Yeah, it's because Dr. Barbie's not there to heal everybody.
It was an absolutely amazing scene. Like, that entire war was so perfect. Like, to get into the song starting and then everybody moving in slow motion, and even before they're like, we don't have guns, and he's like, we'll use the lacrosse sticks and the blah blah blah.
And beach offs.
Yeah, and beach offs. And again, the sound design is so well done here because they don't really pull any punches, and they use horse sound effects, they use sword sound effects for everything, and it's perfectly edited, and it's so funny. And then
sorry, that's an amazing comment.
Sorry,
that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, exactly. and they it's one of those scenes where you can just watch over and over again and kind of just pull a specific segment of the screen to watch for the entire duration, and you'll see something new each time you watch it because there's so much happening.
Giving mouth to mouth to his hobby horse.
To the hobby horse, yeah.
Also, they have hobby horses.
They don't have real horses in that world.
And the boats with the horse had
On
the swan boats that used to be at Ontario Place before.
Yeah. And then there's the two Kens who are just dancing with each other the entire time throughout the fight. They're always somewhere in the frame, in the background, just having a serious it's almost like a tango that they're doing together, right? Or their hands
it
are
is
touching.
a dance.
Yeah.
But then
it's Steven and Ryan finally get together, and then they hit, and it goes to a black and white, da, 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 da,
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Where it's this sort of synth wave, jazzy music, yeah. And then we get
music video.
Yeah, and then all the Kens give him a kiss, which is really nice and funny. And I'm like, I'm really happy that happened because I know it probably pissed somebody off who was watching this movie.
And by the at the end of that, they were all on the same side. Somehow they warred and then danced their way to be like, oh shit,
we forgot to vote.
We forgot to vote.
Which is also a Simpsons joke. It's a joke that's been done before, but it's never not funny when people are so stupid that they get distracted by something and forget to pass a law. I think the Simpsons version of the joke is they're voting to legalize marijuana, and they hold a rally, and they're all at this rally to legalize marijuana, and then they realize that the day to vote was the day before, and they're like, oh man, we spaced on the date. Yeah.
But that was a really satisfying moment for me, though, when the Barbies do go and vote back in to return Barbie Land to Barbie Land, and then that cheerful music and everyone's in these outfits and dancing. I was just like, relief.
Yes, if we all work together, we could do this. That was the vibe, right? If we all work together, you could end this. You could do this. It's there.
Conservatives tried it a couple of years ago. It didn't really pan out for them.
They did. But they were the ones fighting on the beach.
Yeah.
It is also satisfying to see those horrendous horse banners being pulled down in the Supreme Court and everything being returned back to normalcy. We skipped over it, but the television montage of all the Kens having their different afflictions within the world is pretty great as well. We don't need to focus on it. I just like it. I just wanted to mention it.
Also,
'cause
they
it's
started
funny.
winning Nobel Prizes for horse. I
For
think.
horse, yeah.
Like it was beach and a horse, and I'm
Yeah.
like, guys, these don't even exist.
And their acceptance speeches are not speeches. They're just kind of like knocking over microphone stands and showing their pecs and stuff. Yeah.
Whereas the Barbies at the beginning of the movie were like, I wrote a book and I deserve this medal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Huh.
I have a Nobel Prize in physics. Why am I in this outfit? Or what am I wearing? Yeah.
I would never choose this because you're a physicist. Would you like some pants? Yes.
Yeah. So we've essentially reached the end of the movie where the Kens once again try to confront the Barbies, but the Barbies have put everything back to, and then we get our Ken and Barbie moment where Ken basically reveals that he's just a bag of insecurity and doesn't know.
He lost interest when he realized patriarchy wasn't about horses. Killed me. I was like, wow. So you've just been blustering. You're just like, I've gone too far. I have to just keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of people have an issue with Barbie apologizing to Ken. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I can see that, but I think that in the context of the movie, it's important for her to apologize to him because he is showing genuine remorse for his actions and in a way apologizing to him. But I mean, I can understand why people would be upset as well and want her to just kick him off the dream house and be like, get the fuck out of here.
But I think having empathy for someone, I think that was a big thing. Like even at the beginning, I can't remember which character said it when they were in the Supreme Court and they're like, I have emotions and I'm able to express them and it doesn't take away from like my power in any way. And I think in her apologizing to Ken, I think it was kind of falling back to that, which is just like you can feel empathy and understand that like you are sorry for the situation this person's been put in as being like this addition to you. It doesn't mean that you are taking any blame for the actions they've done. You're not forgiving them for the actions they've done, but like
but you're sorry they feel bad.
Yeah, it doesn't take away. Like I think empathy is a huge thing. I think it's important to have for people. I think that is what makes us human in a huge way. So I appreciated it. I do understand maybe the feeling of being like you shouldn't have to apologize for a man's behavior, but I don't think that's what she's apologizing for in that. I think she's apologizing for like the situation that both of them were put in and the fact that they like kind of fell into it for so long before one of them kind of stood up and was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be in this anymore.
Yeah.
Well
I think
said.
it's because like the what I've heard, like I agree with you. What I've heard with is that Ken takes place of like the trope patriarchy, the guy, which like allows for a man to like have this redemption arc, and patriarchy is no longer a thing because it's like it's that simplification, that thing that we were talking about. And he like brainwashed her friends and stole her house and all of the things, and she shouldn't be apologizing to him because he did all of that. I can understand that, but then I was thinking about it, like I was muddling over this, and I still think about like this lives rent free in my head. But the reason I didn't like the apology at first is because I want to live this power fantasy where women rule the world, because that's so different from what we exist in, right? So I want to live in that fantasy, and I don't want her to apologize because I want her to be like, okay, go away now, I don't know where you live. Like that makes me feel good. That's the power fantasy. But if like in the real world where we are in patriarchy, like if I had been in that situation that Ken was in, no matter what he's done, like I would want someone to apologize for treating me like garbage, right? Like imagine if men apologize to you more for everything that you have gone through for being a woman. So that's kind of how I like turned it around in my head.
And they flipped the dynamic a lot of the beginning of the Barbie movie, right? Until they went into the real world, it was sort of flipped. Like it didn't feel good that it was flipped. Like in some ways, yes, as like my power feminist, I'm like, yes, that's the place. But that's not the place, right? So I think the apology was like, hey, I'm sorry for disregarding you and your feelings and being very focused on myself for like a huge, not that that's a bad thing, but like it did hurt you. So I didn't feel like I think maybe what would have helped is if Ken apologized.
Yes.
As well. I think if Ken said, I'm sorry for the things that I did, I shouldn't have done this, then, and I think that was missed, then that would have been a balance, because she's apologizing for how he was treated before, that kind of like pushed him to this. And then he's apologizing for doing this because brainwashing friends and doing all that isn't a good thing to do, no matter how you're treated. That's not what you do. So yeah, I think that was the only miss, was that apology on Ken's behalf.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's just two power fantasies like at odds with each other, right? And like that's the whole point of Barbie Land, that it's not perfect because you can't have like a lopsided like society like that. Like
And
there
that's
was
the point of, so I was going to say that's the point of feminist masterpiece theater, feminism in general, is it's not one wins over the other. It's equality at the end of the day. That is what everyone wants.
equity.
Equity.
And like there was a complaint like, oh, there's so much body diversity with the Barbies, but like there's no body diversity with the Kens. And I'm like, yes, because it's a flip of what cinema is and has portrayed women as. That's why. Like that's an intentional thing. Like, nothing, like you said earlier, Tatiana, nothing is unintentional. Like everything that Greta Gerwig put in there is like
very well thought out. She had many years to do it. There were many years of her trying to get this movie made. She was like, she's there. Yeah.
And that's kind of the core of where the feminist masterpiece theater idea came from. We were watching Last Action Hero, and it just so happened that they went into this world where women like ran everything, and Noel was like, wait a second, that's like, it's pretty matriarchal.
Oh, right. It's because all the women are like in bondage when they go into like they're so outlandishly dressed, and it's a comment on the fact that women in movies are only ever like in a particular like way, and it's just so outlandish. I was like, is this a feminist? Is Last Action Hero actually a feminist masterpiece? Like making a comment about like the portrayal of women.
This is what you're used to. Women all dress like they're space
Ferrera.
fetishists.
The boy is like, no, this isn't the real world. Look at the lady who's
working at Blockbuster. Yeah, that's not what Blockbuster employees look like in the real world.
Yeah. I kicked off a whole month.
From true. I think it's a good month. You guys have done good movies.
Yeah,
and like honestly, it's funny because I love your intro. And I think I was talking to Steven. I was like, oh my God, you're doing this movie. He's like, no, we're not. I'm like, oh my God, you're doing this movie. He's like, no, we're not. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But they're all fantastic movies.
I didn't want to just do the movies we were doing, but I wanted to show that like there are lots of feminist masterpieces that exist. So I'm going to try and cram as many as I can into the.
Yeah, there were a lot of messages going back and forth between me and Jason and Steven of like, we had like a list. Like
there was a long list, and it looked very different. It looked very different a year ago or so when we were first pitching this idea to do. I think it turned out very well. We've got one more to go, which I think will be a good. And
we still have a giant list, so we might.
I think you should do a recurring theme, like an annual.
I think it will become
like maybe annual.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. Yeah, like
the grimoire.
The grimoire, but for women empowerment.
Not spooky little doll people. Wait a second. That's kind of what this movie's about.
Wait a minute. All right. I mean, just to wrap up the movie, we get the moment where Ken realizes the error of his ways, and then we have Barbie who realizes that she's feeling lost, and then Ruth returns and takes Barbie on a walk to essentially grant her the power of humanity.
And I start sobbing. This is about the time that I start crying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I was just going to bring back up your point, which is, again, it's a very Wizard of Oz ending where she's, like the Tin Man being given a heart.
You could have gone
courage
the whole time, right? Like you had it in you the whole time. Oh,
exactly.
It's a beautiful trope, and it's beautiful because it's just like it's so simplistic, right? Like it's in you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the part where you hear Billie Eilish's lyrics for the first time as well. And so like it's been building up, but then you hear the actual like the words is like I'm not who I am anymore. Like I don't know what I was made for. Like, and as soon as that starts, like that's
that's when the tears come.
Also, like there's a point, I don't think they play it in this actual movie, but in that song where it says like, don't tell my boyfriend it's not what he's made for, kills me, because I'm like, oh, like think about all like those feelings you keep inside, because you're just like, I don't want to come across as like XYZ. Like, oh, beautiful song, absolutely incredible. I think the moment they turned it to Billie Eilish, who has done a song for James Bond, to be like, hey, this is what we're trying to get across. And like her and Phineas, as they do, fucking knocked it out of the park.
Just made magic.
Yeah. When she
Absolutely.
performed it at the Oscars, she literally didn't face the crowd. Her back was to the crowd, and she was singing just against the other side with her brother. And then she turned around and saw everyone giving her a standing ovation and fully cried. And I was like, I can't. This is me crying again. This song just gets me going. Yeah. That moment was beautiful. It was beautiful. That deep breath, like when she did, like they did such a good job.
You can see the moment where she gets a heart and a vagina.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And it's beautiful. That's puberty. Her boobs should have grown. Like that's
Yes. The costume design changes significantly for her, and she's in that yellow dress, and we've never seen her in that silhouette and that color pattern with her hair in that particular way in that moment. So like the progression that they give her, like the costume design is incredible. Beautiful. And like the press junket for this with Margot Robbie wearing all the different Barbie outfits.
Every iconic Barbie outfit she could have done, her, like whatever the costume team was that made this for her, impeccable. Like they didn't miss a beat.
And that's what the strike, they had to cut it off early. There were more outfits to be seen. But then Billie Eilish also wore a Barbie inspired outfit at the Oscars. So like it's all there. Like it's a fashion doll. Like it's all there. So just use it. Take it.
Right.
Do we think that people are going to try and do? I feel like, you know what? I don't think that's sorry. The question's in my head. I'll get to it in a second. I feel like people have been trying to push children's movies, things like that, into an adult space. I think we've seen it a very long time. I think it's generally been like, it's a mix, right? Some of them really work out, some of them don't. I feel like what's one that we just saw recently, like Avatar came out, not that they're trying to make it adult, but trying to push it into a new audience. And I think Barbie's such an, like He-Man as well. They did like a new animated He-Man show. Personally, I never watched He-Man as a kid. I really liked the TV show on Netflix. I was shocked. I was like, am I a He-Man fan now? Like, did this happen? But like, I think Barbie was one that's so iconic and doesn't have a huge story base to pull from. So I think such a cool, like they also did a Wings Club television show. I don't know if anyone was young enough to watch,
but it was like a dark reimagining.
It was so bad. Also think Riverdale, like they did Riverdale. Riverdale was a comic book I used to beg my mom to let me buy in every Walmart we go to. And they made it like a dark thing. So like, I think Barbie, because it didn't have like a consistent like comic book or story or TV show to pull from, like this reimagining of it and being like, hey, what does Barbie represent? What did it mean to little girls growing up? And what can that mean to them? And what message can we send as an adult? I think they did an absolutely brilliant job. And I think it was something that like people understood no matter what age they were at. Like, I think you could have that kid sitting next to you in that theater and they're kind of like getting a little bit of a message, even if they're not understanding it fully. And I think their brains are very young and easily.
She really had to pee really badly for most of the movie.
And her mom's just like, we cannot leave.
Mad anxiety. Like I almost went to the mom and was like, hey. But anyway, not to like, that was such a beautiful thing you just said. And then I'm like, the kid had to pee.
The kid probably was there being like, wow, Barbies. No, the kid's just like, I need to pee and my mom won't let me leave this today.
I'm kind of stuck on gritty Barbie film noir, gritty reboot right now. So.
Like they didn't go with that, and I think like this is the gritty reboot does not fit for this. Like
it's called Furiosa, guys. Go watch Furiosa.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm very excited to do so.
So just some key facts. Adults have now become the largest toy buying demographic, thanks to people my age who have extended like millennials. We just buy toys, so it's us.
Yeah, a lot of us are not having kids anymore, so we just buy toys for ourselves.
And we have money to spend now. Yes. Like I spend it on my dogs and I spend it on myself. And that's about it.
No kids, expendable income. You've seen all the things that I've been pulling from all these areas, but like this movie couldn't have landed at a better moment for our generation. I think like we're all right primed for that, because it was mostly like people our age, I think, who were really enjoying it and really like holding on to it. something about that lightning in a bottle. I don't know. There was another point that I was going to make.
I found out recently, I was at a work conference last week. So fun, especially when my voice is gone now.
Wait, I was at a work conference last week too.
We'll go offline on this one.
Do we work in the same place?
That'd be very funny. But I found out last week that millennials are also the majority of the working population right now. So we are taking up the most buying power at the moment as well. So I think that we are intaking the most. We are putting out the most. We're also meant to be the shortest amount of the shortest and any time before us, like whatever the generation after us, they're going to take over that real fast because that's just the way the world works now with population growth and exponential growth. But yeah, so I think this hit the best because we did play Barbies as kids. We did play all of this as kids. We have had to go through a lot of fun little changes and kind of adjustments. So yeah.
We've held on to our childhoods more because before it was
we look younger as a group.
We do.
It's just a consistent thing. We look younger than the generation under us.
I don't know. I'm only 24, so.
Oh God.
One of the things that America Ferrera said in one of the interviews for this was that playthings for women end when you're a child. You are not allowed to take your childhood toys into your adulthood, whereas men get to take their childhood toys into adulthood. You have video games, you have you have man caves. You're allowed to stay in you're allowed to continue playing. And then you look at these directors like J.J. Abrams or the guys who were just that guy who I hate with the hat who runs all of Star Wars now, how his whole thing is just smashing toys in the sandbox.
Who is this?
What?
Who is this?
What's his name?
Dave Filoni?
That fucker.
You hate him?
I do. Okay. You can't resurrect Darth Maul. Okay, so that's a different
That's okay.
That's a different podcast.
I'm just trying to understand if you hate it.
I'm sure he's a nice guy to get a beer with, but that's not the point. But these guys played with their toys in the sandbox and then continue to be able to play with their toys in the sandbox. Whereas women, you become a mother, you have to drop all the things that you used to play with. That's not your job anymore. That's not your role. You don't have time for yourself. You have to have a job. Oh, am I giving this speech now?
This is America Ferrera 2.0. Let's do it.
So that, and I think
have to act like their mother, but not be their mother. It's just all there.
But yes, you have to have a career, and you have to have children, and you have to take care of the home.
And you can't complain about having to balance the two. Yeah, it's a lot.
And the thing about when do you have time for yourself there?
Just
because men don't parent in the same way that women parent.
I thought it'd be funny to take Jason off.
They call it co-parenting.
It's co-parenting.
How is that
also
supposed to be a thing? It should just be parenting. You should already be co-parenting. You're not a girl dad. You're supposed to be
dad
a father
isn't
to everyone.
babysitting. A dad is just parenting. Trust me, this is a big thing. I remember learning about this was back to university, and it was 10 years ago. So who knows if the stats changed? I hope they do. But just the what are they called? Oh my gosh, the unpaid labor, unpaid labor and
Interns?
The difference in unpaid labor between women and men, which is household things.
Oh, right.
And the discrepancy is insane. It has always been insane. And it's this idea that if a father takes on a parental role, it is a bonus, it's an extra thing they're doing and it should be rewarded versus just an expectation. Yeah, I think this movie touched on it in such a beautiful way. I loved it. I love that the dad was brought in this really silly way where you're I don't know if you're a good dad or bad dad, but at the same time,
Si se puede.
You're not here.
We're also seeing I don't want to extend your point beyond what you're doing because I think that you've made the point quite clearly, but even just in people who siblings friends of mine, siblings who are only 4 or 5 years older still are clinging on to the mentality that you guys have just illustrated very clearly. But people my age, which are not even that, there's not that big of a gap. They're changing and there is a big difference now. A few of my friends they're starting to have children and it's not the same as it was. And it's nice to see, my friend, one of the friends who's been on the show a few times now, he's just stay-at-home dad, and his wife is a professor, and it's like, no, I'm just gonna do this as long as I can because I want to make sure that I'm there for my children. I think there is a reversal happening, at least slowly, for people our age, because we understand it and we see it, and we saw what our parents raising us in that sort of stringent and outdated mode of parenting did to us mentally and emotionally. It's not the greatest.
Therapy,
yeah.
I've already me and Madison have had to talk a lot about it, and while we don't have kids now, there is a possibility, and I absolutely would be a stay-at-home kind of child rearing, take care of business at home dad, and Madison would be the primary breadwinner. Not that she's basically not already, like I get to do my dumb job while she has the pants job.
Well, I live in an extremely gendered household where I am not the breadwinner. I make women dollars in the home. There's a pull-up bar, and
I'm the opposite.
And dolls everywhere.
I currently have a stay-at-home partner. I call him my stay-at-home husband. I love it. I feel like it won't be forever. It's just temporary, but like I do love it. I don't know. I think it's just like being comfortable. I feel like our generation's just comfortable with just being like there's no gender norm. It's not like one versus the other. And it is just like you work together because you're partners in this life and you're choosing to be partners in this life, and you want to make sure that like your space is running the way that it should. So maybe I'm in this space now, but maybe like a year from now we switch because like circumstance makes that the case.
I've kind of recently just I don't want to get too far into it, but I really recently sort of confronted my man-child tendencies and what it means to not let everything fall to my woman partner, and I was kind of blind to it for a very long time. No, Barbie is kind of separate from it, but
yes,
I have been going through some stuff when it comes to that lately, and also I'm going to be 40 next year, so there's some stuff. It's kind of all compounding, and this movie has hit me in a weird way, and this conversation has really added to all that, and it's growth, but it is a lot that I don't think men who are in my age group really confront. A lot of my friends who have kids have had kids for 10 to 15 years at this point, and have already gone through it at some point. And then a lot of people my age just don't have relationships or kids, or, they're just kind of alone in the world because it's a fucking nightmare hellscape. Like you just have to kind of find your place. And it's different than Gen X was sort of that last generation that got to do it the old school traditional way, where it's like you go to college, you get a wife or husband, you have a kids, and you're divorced by 40, and then the generation before them, a lot of them are still married, and I mean horrible marriages,
even though they
hate each other.
should have been divorced. That's such a fun generation.
All right. As fun as this conversation is, and as uplifting and as heartwarming as it is, we still have to do the Home Alone of it all.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's push to the end here. Thank you for.
It's such a good movie. Thank you for inviting me to this movie review, guys. I'm very happy we got to do this one.
So for those of you who
have
do
a
not,
toy bakery over there.
I almost said go bake us some cookies.
My table is just a full D&D table. It will stay like this forever. I will forever be a kid.
Yeah.
Living my imaginary life. I love it. This is what we're here for.
So for those of you who are not familiar, who are listening, the Home Alone of it all is when we collectively or individually decide a specific moment in the movie that we believe reminds us of the moment in Home Alone when Kevin McAllister places down the map to set up his traps, or when the burglars attack. The moment in the movie we've all been waiting for. Not every movie has one. Sometimes movies have many of them. So let's all go through this together one by one and see what your Home Alone of it all is. Tatiana, why don't you go first?
Oh, I really hope you don't start with me. I forgot that this is what we do. I wasn't given the breakdown again this time.
Whoops. I mean, Noel, you can go first if you want. Oh, Noel ran away.
Yeah, sure. The Home Alone.
Noel hates it even more.
I'm so sorry. I'm thinking. There's so many.
For me, the Home Alone of it all is the deep brainwashing sequence. When they're wearing the jumpsuits, like, and putting the world back in order. That's it for me.
Yeah, mine was when they go to the real world. From that point on, that's when things really start to kick into high gear.
See, that's an actual Home Alone of it all. Like, I just don't understand the concept. Here's Tim Hortons Barbie.
I think if I think of mine really deeply, I think it is when she's sitting on that bench and we first get that little thing and she just takes that deep breath and she sees everything. I think that's that first moment where I feel like she is just like taking that step. It's not being influenced by her like human on the other side. It's being influenced by her own perception of the world. And I think that was just such a beautiful, calm moment in the middle of just a lot of like vibrant neon chaos. So I think that one might be it for me.
And mine is the very beginning of the movie when the girls start smashing the dolls with the other dolls.
Good.
I went into the movie precariously with shaky legs, not certain of what I was getting into, but I had high recommendations from many people speaking highly of it. And as soon as the dolls started smashing, and as soon as I was drawing the parallels between 2001 and Barbie itself, I didn't even realize that was not going to be something like just a piece of marketing. When I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh, that's probably just for marketing purposes. But to have it integrated into the movie and give us some history, I was in from the minute the movie started almost. That was my Home Alone of it all.
I remember those accessories that you're showing, Noel. The Pizza Hut cup for Barbie. I remember those. My cousin had them.
I miss classic Pizza Huts. That's again another podcast, but like we should just try and really coordinate an old-timey Pizza Hut with like a Sunday bar.
Yes. Oh my God, the Sunday bar.
I'll flip it back to stupid.
We didn't play the sting for Home Alone. Do you want to hear it?
If you had to pick one, what do you think the Home Alone is? The Home Alone of it all? Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone? I really gotta know. When is the Home Alone of it all? What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all. Yeah.
Ding dong dong ding dong.
Play a quick MPAA game and then I get our final thoughts.
It's time to play Guess the MPAA.
The new song.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Barbie, and I am the host of the hit game, the MPAA Certificate Rating Game. The rules are simple. There's a 5-digit number that's given to every single movie that's given a rating. Those ratings, of course, are G-rated right up to NC-17. That has nothing to do with any of this. Don't think about it at all. That 5-digit number, all I need you to do is give me the 3 digits after the first 2 digits. So I'm going to say 2 numbers. I'm going to say, for this movie, for instance, it's 5-4. Now you just need to give me a number between 0 and 999. That's it. That's the whole game. And just like at the start, our guest always goes first. And since we have 2 guests, the guest who's on the least amount gets
this month.
This month. So Tatiana.
Yes.
Please give me a number between 0 and 999, and I'll tell you whether it's higher or lower.
694.
Lower. Noel.
582.
Lower. Steve.
3, 2, 1.
Higher. Tatiana.
474.
Lower. Noel.
398.
Steve. Lower.
387.
That's the new sound I picked because you didn't like the other one.
I hated the other one. I like that one.
No, well, that was a very, very good guess because that's probably the closest we've ever come. It's 54383.
Whoa! Wow. I was 5 away.
Honestly, it's more fun with 3 people.
It is. Maybe 3 guesses in the future. All right.
Yeah.
You can get closer.
Well, that was the MPAA, everyone.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
And with that, we're just about there. Tim, I gotta show his comments on this because he loves the MP. This always kills me.
Wow.
We basically gave our final thoughts for the last like half hour, so we can probably keep this pretty tight. Just like I said at the start, give your final thought on the film. That's dope. And it seems like it's too big for a Barbie, but
It has real cassettes.
it's a giant boombox. So Tatiana, give your final thoughts, and like if you have a rating that you'd like to give the movie.
It's time
100%. I think my rating is 5 Barbie, mainly because it sounds close to Hi Barbie. But I think final thoughts. I think it's a great movie. I think it is a fun movie. I think people who don't want to watch it are maybe holding on to some outer opinions, and maybe they should just keep those quiet and give it a try. So yeah, I think that it is something that I think everyone should just give a watch. It's not like it's trying to give you this like punch in the face message. It is just, a little bit. But I think Final Thoughts it was fun. It gave a little message, and I think Greta Gerwig is an incredible director, and I'm incredibly excited to see what she gets to do next.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I need to have this applause sequence in my meetings, so if you could send that to me every time I speak in meetings at work, I will just put that on.
I can do that.
I think all of us should have that. Noel, what are your cat's final thoughts on the film Barbie, starring John Barbie, the host from the MPAA rating game?
I love this movie. It's been a journey. I think every single time I watch it, I feel something different about it. I can just like have a good time. I can be depressed by it. I can be made happy. I love Barbie. I'm a doll collector. Like, I collect all
Isn't that
kinds
a Batman
of toys.
villain? Sorry.
Yeah, like I have an obscene amount of toys, and so like this is a movie made for my heart. So it is 5 Barbies out of 5 Barbies, or 5 things that Mattel made out of, I don't know, whatever. Lucy, what do you think? Yeah, good.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you stink.
Steve, what are your final thoughts for the Margot Robbie Ryan Gosling vehicle Barbie the movie?
I'm almost tempted to yield my final thoughts to the ether because we went through so many individual sort of monologues on why we love so many parts of the movie already. So I'll just say that, if you find any reservation about watching this, those are misplaced. Immediately watch it. This movie is wonderful in pretty much every single way. It does harken back to a time, I would compare it to movies in the late 90s and early 2000s, where structurally it's very simplistic, but it's dealing with very complex narratives as well as themes, and it accomplishes everything that it sets out to do from the beginning all the way to the end. There's a couple of slippery parts here and there, but I think overall it's just wonderful in almost every way. I didn't get to talk about the sound design as much as I wanted to. The sound design rules. It's so good. I love it so much. For a rating, I think I'll give this movie the rating of being able to hold logic and emotion simultaneously without it affecting your powers. In fact, I'd say it heightens your powers.
Yeah, I'm with Steve. I actually didn't write much for it because I knew that this would be like a talkier episode. Like there's more to talk about on a grander scale, on a grander scope. So I basically just said that like it's a fun, funny movie that says the right things with a little subtlety, and it's one of the like there aren't very many family films that actively smash the patriarchy. So like, I think everybody needs to see this. I think it's an important movie, as goofy as it seems like it would be. There's just something about it that gives you medicine with a spoonful of sugar, helps it go down real sweet. But when you sit around and think about it, it's kind of a dark movie. It is kind of a gritty Barbie reboot, like subtextually. Yeah. Great, colorful, fun movie on the surface that highlights a lot of gender issues. The spoonful of sugar. I give it a 4 out of 5, hard 4 out of 5. And I'd simply give this movie a sublime.
Yes.
And we did it. We did it once again. Before we get out of here, I just want to, Tatiana, do you have anything that you'd like to plug or a message for the world?
Smash the patriarchy.
Hell yeah.
That's it.
Chucky's all for that. How about you, Noel? Noel Barbie?
Yeah, I have a podcast called Stick Taps and Stitches. It's a hockey podcast. We're almost at the end of the Stanley Cup final, so that'll be really exciting. And then we do movies in the summer. We do hockey movies. But my actual plug is lean into your weird shit, people. Like if you collect toys, if you like Warhammer, if you like random shit, just like don't be afraid of it. Everyone's always afraid of being themselves and pulling a whole bunch of what they are to the real world because you're going to get judged and you're going to get all these things. Well, fuck those people. Like you have an inner child and it's your current self. So play with your toys.
I absolutely love that.
Nurture that baby.
I feel the same way. Steve, what do you got? Or else. What are you cooking up these days?
As usual, I'll plug the Darth Theorist channel on YouTube. We're growing. We're slowly growing. Every day we get bigger. We've changed the schedule to release videos Mondays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So 4 days a week. I do all the narration as well as all of the character voices on that show. And I don't know. I think they're getting pretty good. They're getting more creative as we go. I'm having more fun doing them every time. So yeah, check it out. If you've got 15 minutes to burn while you eat a sandwich or something, why not learn about what happens when Yoda cures Anakin of all of his nightmares? I don't know. That's just one episode I recorded recently.
I love thought. I do like thought. What are they called? Thought project. Like when you actually think through a random question.
Yeah, that's basically the concept. Is we come up with like a very broad concept, and then we run down a narrative and basically just write sort of like a miniature fan fiction for what would happen if that occurred. It's fun.
Darth Theorist Nights, where you do the real fanfic.
Oh yeah. And then Obi-Wan said,
"What if Jar Jar
Master, where are your robes?"
Yeah.
How does Yoda pleasure himself? Like, I don't...
What's he got?
I don't know, but I know the noises he would make.
Love sloshing. I would like to just shout out this podcast. Go watch it, listen to it. You can find us on all social media. I am hosting a professional wrestling event tomorrow night here in Toronto called Superkick Pro Wrestling. In addition to that, every week we use White Bat Audio as part of our show. So go seek him out on YouTube. And also, we are launching a new podcast. It's called That's a Different Podcast. Each and every week, we'll talk about tangented stuff on this show. No, okay.
Impossible. There's no time limitation on tangents.
Put that on the paywall. Like, if you sign up for our Patreon, you get
access to Noel's
the content.
Yeah.
You get to see the way our brains work if we really don't have a schedule.
Dear Lord, that's my brain all the time. ADD's a real bummer.
But I guess with that, there's one weekly question, okay, that we ask each and every week. Okay, you following me on this? And I would like now for one of our guests or both to please ask that question.
Hey, did you see this one?
Perfect.
Well, thanks for watching, and thanks
Was
for
I
coming.
muted?
No.
Okay, good. At the end, it said I got muted, and I was like, I think I said, "Hey, did you see this one?"
It means you during the video, so that we're not all gabbing over top of our.
Oh,
sweet
thank
theme song.
goodness. I was like, well, I messed that one up. My one job.
Not your one job.
Oh man.
Hey, Noel, where do you work?
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.